I'm a little rusty on it.
I'll hum it for you.
All right, how is everyone doing? Give me 1 second. All right. Shall we do the intro really quickly? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you might be watching this. My name is Josh, and welcome to my channel. On here, we talk news, politics, and current events, and we play video games sometimes. So it's been a weekend, hasn't it? What in blazes was that? What are you doing? Why are you eating? Why are you trying to eat that? That's plastic. You don't eat plastic. You eat food. We give you a lot of food. Stop it. Stop. You're the worst. Anyway, how's everyone doing today? It is currently August 21st, 2023. Another hot one here in sunny Denver, Colorado. Yeah. I don't really have a whole lot of personal or non-polit. Okay, do you guys see this? That green part is like a plastic bag, and for whatever reason, she is obsessed with it. I don't know why this. Pretty sure that bag's been there for weeks. What are you? So, are you good? Are you done? What are you trying to do? Okay. I don't know what her deal is. But what do we got today on the show? Okay, so we're going to take a look really quickly at some of the devastation left by Tropical Storm Hillary over in Southern California. We'll take a quick look at that, and then really a big chunk in the show is going to be going over and kind of learning a little bit about this guy named Javier Milei, a Argentinian politician, populist, libertarian, presidential candidate. So he popped up on my radar. Through Reddit, and like he just kind of looked like an absurd, hyperbolic person, but and I didn't really know much of the context until over the weekend he won a presidential primary race. So this is gonna be a bit. We're gonna get into kind of looking at who he is, and also what kind of led to his uprising. He is quite a character. After that, I want to look at Vivek Ramaswamy. Kind of talking about this is a little bit old. I don't think I ever really talked about it. But I want to kind of take a look at Vivek Ramaswamy advocating for poll tests and increasing the voting age, because Republicans have no other possible way to garner the votes of young people, so they'd prefer to just restrict them. And then we'll kind of wrap up taking a look at some of the right-wing reactions to Trump's indictment and everything else. And then if we have some time, I don't know, we'll play something. I actually have an idea of what we might play, which I'm not going to reveal yet, but we'll end up playing something if we get done with everything a little bit early. That sound good to everybody? Cool. So to start off with, let's take a bit of a look at is this what I wanted? Yes. Let's take a look at the devastation left in the wake of Hurricane Hillary, shall we? All right. Drenched deserts, flooded roadways in California. Now it's threatening Oregon and Idaho. I'll take a... Good God. Actually, yeah, that's fine. So, obviously, everyone heard about over the weekend, Tropical Storm, Southern California, a place not known. Southern California, a place not known for its humidity, and certainly not known for its robust rainfall. was hit pretty devastatingly after a tropical storm roused the local regions. Desert, more, I don't know, Palm Springs. Oh my God. Look at that little mini. That thing can't survive in this water. Into Nevada. Yeah, that's a fuck ton of water. They've been really concerned lately about the amount of rainwater that a lot of places are getting. Luckily, it kind of seems like this year is the year for rain. Here in Colorado, we got a lot as well. Let's take a look. Palm Desert, California. Hillary, the first tropical storm to hit Southern California in 84 years, swept people into swollen rivers, toppled trees onto homes, and flooded roadways as the massive system marched northward Monday, prompting flood watches and warnings in more than a half dozen states. The National Hurricane Center in Miami downgraded Hillary to a post-tropical storm Monday morning, but warned that, quote, continued life-threatening and locally catastrophic flooding was expected over portions of the southwestern U.S., along with record-breaking rainfall. Hillary, which first slammed into Mexico's arid Baja California peninsula, causing one death and widespread flooding, was one of the several potentially catastrophic natural events affecting California on Sunday. Besides a tropical storm which produced tornado warnings, there were wildfires and an earthquake. So far, no deaths, serious injuries, or extreme damages have been reported in the state, though officials warn the risks remain, especially in the desert, the mountainous regions. Oh yeah, I also saw what's it called? I saw this on Reddit. Is this true? It's debunked. Let's see. Sports fans remain skeptical, noting that the parking structure in the stadium was not set up in a way to flood like that when the overhead Monday morning. No such flooding. Okay, so that was bullshit. Okay, cool. I just saw the picture. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I'm glad I looked it up before. Ooh, actually, yeah. Do we want to look at this? This looks more like, let's see. Mud and boulders spilled onto highways. Water gushed onto roadways, and tree branches fell into neighborhoods from San Diego to Los Angeles. Dozens of cars were trapped in floodwaters in typically hot and dry Palm Desert and surrounding communities across the Coachella Valley. Crews pumped floodwaters out of the emergency room at Eisenhower Medical Center and Rancho Mirage. Hillary could wallop other western states in once-in-a-century rains, with a good chance of it becoming the wettest known tropical cyclone to douse Nevada, Oregon, and Idaho. Hillary was expected to remain a tropical storm into central Nevada early Monday before dissipating. So let's that's right. Southern California got another surprise in the afternoon as an earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 5.1 hit near Ojai, about 80 miles northwest of downtown Los Angeles. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, it was felt widely and was followed by smaller aftershocks. There were no immediate reports of major damage or injury, according to a dispatcher with the Ventura County Sheriff's Office. Hillary is just the latest major climate disaster to wreak havoc across the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Hawaii's island of Maui is still reeling from a blaze that killed over 100 people and ravaged the historic town of Lahaina, making it the deadliest U.S. wildfire in more than a century. Firefighters in Canada were battling the nation's worst fire season on record. Yeah, we all know about that. Beaches were closed across the Mexican cities of Ensenada and Tijuana, while shelters were opened at sports complexes and government offices. One person drowned Saturday in the Mexican town of Santa Rosalia when a vehicle was swept away in the overflowing stream. Rescue workers saved 4 other people, said Edith Aguilar. Oh, goodness. Villavicencio? Yeah, Villavicencio. The mayor of Milei Township. Mexican army troops fanned out across Milei, where some of the worst damage occurred Saturday on the eastern side of the Baja Peninsula. Power lines are toppled in many places. Emergency personnel working to restore power and reach those cut. What did that say? Those cut off by the storm. Yeah. So okay. So we're seeing a increasingly. Let's see if tropical storm. Sure. Let's do that. Mudslides. Ooh. Oh. Holy shit.
Right now, we are following
Nope.
severe.
Shush. I just want to see video. Jesus. So, I don't really feel like we need to spend a lot of time on this mainly because we kind of know, right? We're kind of aware of the consequences of the stuff. Tropical. Well, let's do this. I just want can I just get clips, please? Holy shit. Yeah, I just want like clips. Yeah. So the reason why I'm not really, I don't have like a million things to say, I guess, is just mainly because we know the answer to this. We know why this is happening. We know why these storms are getting worse, why we're seeing why we're seeing combos of storms and earthquakes and wildfires. And we read, earlier we heard about, we all are familiar with Canada's wildfire season this year. This isn't a mystery to us anymore. We are long past the point when where we need to be asking ourselves why this is happening, why are this or that area being hit. It's rather obvious, and it's rather clear at this point. It is climate change. The continued burning of fossil fuels at the level and peak that we are doing is unsustainable. It's just, I have no other way to really describe it. This is unsustainable. This kind of stewardship for the planet by us is just not gonna work out in our favor. And there's a reason why you see, there's a reason why there's a market, for the incredibly rich to buy their, doomsday shelters, their little doomsday bunkers. There's a reason for that, because they've seen the science. They're aware of all of this. Nobody who has, any kind of stake in an oil industry, nobody who is, who is high up on the income scale, has a lot of access to information, thinks this is some woke leftist Chinese, the propaganda, whatever. We know why this is happening. We know the effects that fossil fuel burnings are having. This is what we stand to live with for over the next 100+ years. And this is a choice that we're making actively. Now, I don't think this is a choice, let's be clear, that you or I are making. We're not making this choice. This is the choice that our elected representatives, the people who fund their campaigns, the people who run these fossil fuel corporations, this is their choice. They have made this choice for humanity, for everybody living in Southern California, everybody living in Lahaina, everyone living in Mexico, everyone living in Canada, everyone living in New York when it had fucking cyberpunk red skies. They've made this decision for you and for me. Now the question is, as always, would we like to, would we like to assert our natural dominance as the more populous group? There are more of us than them, and at the end of the day, I think public policy should be geared and directed towards the populous amount of people, not the people with the most amount of money, influence, power. This is also, as always, the usual critique of capitalism that I make, that the reason these people get to make this decision for you and for me is because of capitalism, because they sit at the top of the hierarchy in our society for the simple fact that they just have more money. That's it. That's the only reason. And again, that's always a decision that we can change. It's something we can change, evolve from. But, this is what we get. This is what we're going to get. And it's a wonder why, the younger generations, Gen Z, are not apathetic, mind you, are a bit doomer about their futures because they see stuff like this and they don't think to themselves, oh, this is, when I was growing up, we would get storms and, it's just a storm. It's whatever, you get these kind of crazy extreme storms. You just think, oh, fuck, okay, every couple of years, every once in a while, you get these crazy storms and, and it's kind of just this, it happens every once in a while. But for these younger kids, they're not looking at this and thinking, oh yeah, we're just gonna have a few storms, every once in a while. They see this for the threat that it is. Because back when, when I was a kid, it was like, oh, you got a real bad thunderstorm. Maybe your power went out for a couple hours, or you went to bed early because your power went out and you woke up the next day, power's back on. There are whole areas that flooded, whole little towns that flooded. And in Lahaina, there's an entire town that's just burnt to a fucking crisp. So, they're looking at something I think a little bit less, just a tad bit less tolerable, But either way, that's what we have to look forward to. But that being said, let's speaking of choices, Argentina, voters in Argentina, in a presidential primary, made their choice via, some say protest vote, some say, possible real effort to see someone ascend to power. Given that he's, one of the few politicians. But let's take a look at so you might have heard the name, or you might have seen this video. If you're on the left, you might have seen this video. This might look a bit familiar for me. This was this was posted this wasn't I think this was posted on, like, I refound it through the what's it called, through the, I think this is on libertarian memes. But let's let him. Oh, let me disappear myself for a second. Let me so you can really get the whole energy.
Al zurdo de mierda no le podés dar ni un milímetro.
Also, by the way, obviously this is not a perfect translation. Bit of embellishment, I
Todos
presume.
los que, digamos, los colectivistas, los que ponen, digamos, o sea, esa idea. A ver,
¿Por qué le pones de mierda, digamos?
Porque son una mierda. O sea,
vos mezclás...
no,
pero
es que si pensás, pero si pensás distinto te van a aniquilar. Ese es el punto. Es decir, vos al zurdo no le podés dar un milímetro, porque le das un milímetro y lo toma para destrozarte. Es decir, digo, o sea, vos no podés negociar con el zurdo. No se negocia. No se negocia con esa mierda, no se negocia porque te van a llevar puesto. Y como estamos siendo tan mejores que ellos, como los estamos aplastando en la batalla cultural, los estamos pasando de arriba, porque no solo le ganamos en lo productivo, somos superiores moralmente, somos superiores estéticamente, somos mejores en todo. Y les duele. Entonces, como no pueden pelear con las herramientas
I'm gonna let this little king go off.
El Estado, poniendo torres de guita para hacernos mierda. Y aún así no pueden, tuvieron que bajar la nota. ¿Me entendés? Que están perdiendo, están desesperados, están perdiendo la batalla cultural, los zurdos de mierda. Por primera vez se ven acorralados los zurdos de mierda.
All right, so that was presidential candidate and primary winner, Javier Milei, libertarian, kind of a bit of a wacky guy, a funny, silly, what's the word I'm looking for? Hyperbolic, just a wild guy. So let's kind of interrogate this a bit. So what is this dude's deal exactly? So Argentina's economy, I'm not an expert, by the way, but Argentina's economy has not been great for the last, I don't know, kind of, we'll say definitely the last 10 years. I'm not sure how far back that goes. But given the high inflation rate in Argentina, along with the staggeringly large amount of the population that lives in poverty, in what is it, Argentina poverty rate? Woof. 39.2% of the population lives in poverty. Let's take a look at this really quickly before we get into it. High inflation pushes poverty rate even higher in Argentina. Buenos Aires, Argentina, one of the world's highest inflation rates, is making it more difficult to make ends meet in Argentina, where at the end of last year, nearly 4 of every 10 people were poor, official figures revealed Thursday. Poverty, when did this posted, by the way? This was in March this year. Poverty increased to 39.2% of the population in the second half of 2022, a 3 percentage point increase from the first 6 months of the year, says Argentina's National Statistics Agency Indictment. Among children under age 15, the poverty rate increased more than 3 percentage points to 54.2%. In a poor neighborhood in Argentina's capital, those who run a soup kitchen don't need the statistics to tell them, yeah, we know. There's more poverty than before, obviously. People can kind of tell that. After the pandemic, everything got worse. Most have precarious jobs. They don't have fixed employment to say that they're sure about how much they'll make each month. Rosa Guerrera, 76, was one of the people who went to the soup kitchen with their plastic container to get food on a recent afternoon. Quote, "If it weren't for the soup kitchen, what would become of me?" Experts say inflation has hit lower middle class families particularly hard, as the price of food has increased more than other items. If the inflationary question isn't resolved, it will be very difficult to recover purchasing power and lower the poverty level, said Eduardo Donza, a researcher at the Social Debt Observatory at Catholic University in Argentina. Even if inflation were to magically disappear, though, quote, "it wouldn't be enough because the poverty level is associated with a very precarious job market. The percentage of Argentina's population considered destitute, those whose income won't even cover basic minimal food needs, decreased slightly to 8.1% from 8.8%. The decline was largely due to the welfare programs, without which the destitution rate would be around 18%. Okay, let's keep that in mind. The welfare programs that they have instituted in Argentina are keeping the destitution rates 10% lower. Obviously, 8% isn't good, but 18% is certainly worse. It's double, more than double, actually. The government's efforts to cool inflation has been made even more difficult by a devastating drought that has increased costs even further. The annual rate of inflation rose above 100% in February. Although the poverty rate has decreased slightly from 42% in the second half of 2020, at the height of the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, it will undoubtedly be one of the main issues in the presidential campaign ahead of October elections. President Alberto Fernandez has still not said whether he will seek re-election. Members of the opposition were quick to criticize the government when the latest poverty figures came out. Quote, "More than 18 million Argentinians are poor," former Buenos Aires Governor Maria Eugenia Vidal wrote on Twitter. And you know what the worst part is? This information is already outdated. The situation in 2023 is even more serious. For now, many Argentines don't have much faith that things could improve, even with new leadership. Quote, "All the politicians promise, and once they're there, they don't see you and they don't listen to you. Most people here think the same way, just promises they don't fulfill." So, this was kind of the situation heading into the primary win by what's it called? By Milei winning the primary. Sorry, I was reading, lost a bit of track of my sentence there. Buenos Aires, Argentina's right-wing populist presidential candidate Javier. Actually, let's watch the video. I forgot I opened this. Let's watch it. If only there was sound. Where's my sound? Excuse you. Where? Oh, it's okay. There we go. Oh, I knocked this over. Let's just do that.
Even Javier Milei looks like he can't believe it himself. Predicted to take maybe 20, he grabbed more than 30% of the vote. Brash, populist, far right. So are we looking at Argentina's next president after this primary, which is in effect a dress rehearsal for October's general election?
And also keep in mind, he's been compared a lot to Donald Trump. I don't know. I think that's that, you know, a little bit of that is why the you know, how the American press is framing him. I'm not sure how really accurate that is. As much as Trump is was a, you know, populist candidate, there's also a lot to be said that, like, Donald Trump does not share the class of which the people that are so fervently supportive of him. So it's not yeah, I don't know if that's like a fair or even really an accurate comparison. But we might be looking at, we could be looking at the next president of Argentina, and a president who is voted in specifically due to a rejection of the current situation and governing philosophy of Argentina's government up till now, and also kind of a rebuke of you know, of the of kind of the order that they're in now, and like you'll see as we keep on kind of reading a little bit, and as we've read a little bit already, there's a lot of people who've lost a lot of faith in their government in Argentina, and because of that, they're willing to take a chance with someone like Milei, somebody who will get into his policies.
Hoy somos la fuerza más votada porque somos la verdadera
Do I have subtitles? There we go.
After this primary, which is in effect a dress rehearsal for October's general election.
Hoy somos la fuerza más votada porque somos la verdadera oposición.
Today we are the most voted force because we are the true opposition. We are the only ones who want to make a real change. Because remember, a different Argentina is impossible with the same old people who have always failed, with the same old people who have been failing for 100 years.
Now, let's keep in mind. Okay, so that should kind of sound a bit familiar to really anybody in the States, because who is that? What do we hear almost every cycle, right? Is the Republican Party go out there and complain about the other party. What we're like, the thing that I'm kind of looking out for is also, like, notice how unpositive all of the campaigning is. Because it doesn't seem like from the outset, and from what I've, we're both, all of us are going to kind of get a bit of an education. I've watched like one longer form video, but that's really about it on this guy. And what you'll notice is he focuses a lot on what he doesn't like and his oppositional approach, in contrast to the more liberal party. And you can kind of see that in his in that video we watched earlier. Nothing in there was substantive. There wasn't anything in there that wasn't just a funny-haired, like, angry man just yelling into the sky. There wasn't anything. There's no policy. There's no vision for the future. It's just not this. And I would say this to everybody. Always be wary of two things: campaigns and candidates, because they are a bit different. But campaigns and candidates that aren't about anything other than a contrast of the other person. And it's mainly because I think in most people's hearts, they want to vote for things. They want to vote for a better vision. They want to vote for a better way forward. But at least on the offset, as far as I can tell so far, there is, like, what is Milei offering? What is he offering the people besides rage? And if rage is what you're looking for, I understand that. And there's a theory that he won the primary as a protest vote. He can only really get 30% of the general election, but that was also the case for Donald Trump. And Donald Trump in the United States has a strong, pretty much, I think it's somewhere around 20 to 30%, just a strong base of like 30% of the population will vote for Trump no matter what. So, we're looking at somebody who, again, it's a non-zero chance. It's certainly a non-zero chance. But like when we look at a candidate like this, it becomes flagrantly obvious, how empty this campaign is, how empty this rhetoric is.
And that's the appeal to voters fed up with both centre-right and left coalitions who for years have delivered economic perma-crisis to this vast country. Finding inflation tough here in the UK? Try living in Argentina. 115% inflation and successive governments delivering a massive, slow-motion fiscal crash. And all of that compounded by the drought earlier this year, which has crippled the agricultural sector. 40% of Argentines.
Oh, by the way, you remember what we said earlier about climate change? That, when I was mentioning, like, we don't need to really talk too much about it. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it. We know the answers. These are the communities that are going to be affected first. It's going to happen to places like California, to islands like Hawaii, to countries in the global south. These are going to be places where you're going to see the first really like shocking effects of climate change. But let's all remember, these people got to go somewhere, and we're going to end up seeing climate migration, climate refugees. We are going to end up seeing that, and it is going to be all because at the end of the day, that will end up happening around the world, not because you or I didn't use our cardboard straws, because we didn't recycle. No, that's going to happen because somebody at the top of ExxonMobil, somebody at the top of Shell, somebody at the top at all of those companies decided they'd like a bigger jet, and to hell with all the people in the rest of these countries, and to hell with all of the communities that they're going to have to attempt to move into because they have no other choice.
Officially below the poverty line. On top of all that, currency controls further enraging hard-pushed voters. So for many, it was just time to punish all that failure. It's simply a punishment vote against this and previous governments, said this voter. Most people are just tired of all the others, he says. They're all the same. This guy's an outsider with something different.
Do you think they can identify what's different besides his rhetoric and like kind of the absurd nature of him as a person? Not really. Was Donald Trump different? No, not really. Donald Trump ran as a populist the same way this guy runs as a populist, and he governed as a centrist. He governed like every other corporate Republican, because at the end of the day, Donald Trump did not win and bring forth a populist people's movement. His movement was for him to become rich and to enrich himself and to stroke his ego.
But let's not get
the
ahead
tax
of
cuts
ourselves.
weren't for
Unlike
all of
Trump
us.
or Bolsonaro, Milei is something of a one-man band. Showman and popular, sure. But in power, without a powerful party elected around him, could he get much done? Even some of his supporters acknowledge that.
It's a concern we voters have, if he's able or not to do all the things he's saying he's going to do. But at the same time, that's what took him to do such a great election.
Perhaps that explains why Milei has been dialing down the rhetoric about abolishing the central bank and the peso in favor of the dollar in recent days. And just 3 points now divide Milei from the two traditional parties. Here's the centre-right's Patricia Bullrich, now their presidential candidate.
I want to thank all the people who chose to have security, to have reasonable taxes, tranquility, certainties, an end to uncertainties, a government that has clear, lasting...
And like, okay, we're listening to this, right? And we all get it. Why everyone just goes, ugh, when you hear this. Because, and this is the problem with this woman is center right, but this is also the problem with liberals. because this is all they have to offer, is maintenance of the current system and the current what's the word I'm looking for? Status quo. What liberals are looking for isn't change, isn't betterment, isn't, you know, any of the, isn't progress, isn't any of those things. What they're looking for is for everything to just stand still for a little bit. Under a liberal, you're not going to get radical change. You're going to get, let's just stop moving. It's why Biden didn't reverse, the corporate tax rate back to where it was before Trump. It's why he's left Jerome Powell still in charge of the Fed. It's why he's done a lot of stuff where, like, that leaves your head scratching of people who undermine his his policy goals and his, like, stated ambitions. Somebody like Joe Manchin, Biden should have crushed under his boot heel. But did he? No. Because Joe Biden doesn't want to see, and liberals like him don't want to see something shocking like that. That would be a big change to see Joe Manchin smeared across the political floor. That would be, it's shocking to them. But but they're happy to keep Joe Manchin around. They're happy because they see it as this, I think, like, this like value that you allow somebody to undermine your goals and to stymie your ability to make progress, because there's some kind, and Joe Manchin's threatening to run against Biden or something or other. I've heard a little bit of that, but they see it as a value in and of itself, as a principle, to let these kinds of people continue to succeed in their obstruction. It's very odd. I to this day don't understand it. Like, you have power, use it.
Rules.
For the ruling centre-left, Sergio Massa insisting only they can stabilize the national finances.
Porque estamos seguros que en la Argentina que viene,
because we are sure that in the Argentina of the future, work, production, the defense of our rights and public education have to be unchanging values, values that will not change whoever governs.
All three candidates now go forward to the general election in October.
Oh boy.
Traditional parties knowing there's now a new kid on the block, loud, rude even, and popular.
And, and this is kind of, so from an electoral standpoint, this is also like, to anybody who wants to, talk about, what's the word I'm looking for? Here in the U.S., who like to banty on about third-party runs and challenges to Biden. Keep in mind, this is what would happen in the United States. We would get a third, you have your Cornel West or whatever. And what they would do, the same way what Milei is going to do, is split the right-wing vote. They're not going to fall behind, two of those people, meaning the liberal will probably do fairly well. There's a good chance that they might pull through, but there's always that, what's the old term? Never be surprised by your enemy's resolve or something like that. But that being said, let's take a look a little bit at this dude's Wikipedia, because I was initially curious, like, again, because I saw him on Reddit, knew it, like, in that video I showed you guys in the beginning, and just kind of seemed like a very hyperbolic individual. But this is, winning being the third person in a presidential race. I think that's pretty significant. But Javier Milei, Argentinian politician, economist. Since December of 2021, Milei has held the position of national deputy, representing La Libertad Avanza, which he leads. What is this? This is his party, obviously. I'm sorry, Wikipedia. I'm sorry. Stop. Let's see. Far right, libertarian, conservative. Man, look at that fucking face. Right libertarianism, ultra conservatism. Far right political coalition originated in Argentina with a conservative to ultra conservative tendency on social and cultural issues, while supporting economic liberalism and being right wing and being right wing libertarian on economic issues. As an alliance of right wing parties, its first electoral participation was at the 2021 Argentine legislative election, obtaining the third place with 17% of the votes in the capital. The coalition is led by economist and national deputy Javier Milei. Excuse me. Which is 2023 Argentine general election. Ideologically, La Libertad Avanza has been described as ultra conservative. Let's take a look. A foundation. On July. Oh my goodness. Excuse me. On July 14, 2021, the alliance was formalized in Buenos Aires, where many members parties are from. Participant in 2021 having Javier Milei and Victoria Villarreal as the main candidates for national deputies, and Ramiro Mara as the can you stop it? Stop opening things. Stop it. Unite the freedom and dignity and a movement of pensioners. Whoa. The coalition was formed by the Integration and Development Movement. Fuck are you? Flying to Venezuela in 1956. Oh, okay. Populist. Secretly negotiated agreement between his friend. February surprise. President. Foundation early party. Okay. This is kind of a bit curious. Right. Unite for freedom and dignity in the movement of pensioners and youth. In addition, they had supportive parties without legal personality in the district, such as the NOS party of Juan Jose Gomez Centurion, or Milei's Libertarian Party. The fuck is the NOS party? Right-wing political coalition register on 12. Patriotism. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, they're just a group. All right, let's see. Election campaign. No, I want to see what their general election coalition obtained 313,808 votes for national deputies. National bloc. Let's see, what do we got? Integrated parties, Democratic Party, People's Conservative Party, Unite for Freedom and Dignity. Light blue and white union. Okay. And then provincial, Democratic Party, Integration and Development, Unite for Freedom and Dignity again. Federal Renewal Party, Pensioners and Youth, makes sense. All right. I was kind of curious to see if they had any information on the their slogan, a different Argentina is impossible, but the same as always. Let's put a full stop. Yeah, again, which is like, do you notice they don't describe what different is? It's just different. Like there isn't anything like new about it. Oh, is that because I have yes. It's not in Argentina, like it's just different, which I think is not going to help them in the long run. But let's take a look. Politically, Milei has been variously described as far right, ultra conservative, and right wing libertarian. While he identifies as a monarchist or liberal libertarian, he adheres to the philosophy of anarcho-capitalism regarding economic matters. Regarding economic matters, he aligns with the Austrian school and contends that Argentina is a tax hell. He advocates for a swift reduction in government spending to achieve a balanced budget. He gained widespread recognition through regular television appearances, where he criticized the administration of Cristina Fernández de Kirchner, Mauricio Macri, and Alberto Fernandez, citing what he saw as their rampant spending and a lack of fiscal adjustments as concerns. On social issues such as abortion, Milei expressed opposition to the law that legalized it in 2020 and proposed to hold a referendum about the law he has characterized as a radical conservative. Yeah, good luck with that one, buddy. Milei's political positions have sparked controversy. His opposition to abortion extends to cases of rape. Jesus. Really? Wait. 25. Will this be can I get an English translation? Hit me with it, boys. Candidate for whom his parents don't exist and the abortion is a property conflict. What the fuck? The self-considered anarcho-capitalist economist assures that the termination of pregnancy under current legal conditions is murder and maintains that the blood link is nothing more than an accident. What the fuck? The candidate for national Buenos Aires comparing the bond of a mother and baby with, quote, a conflict of property. This position, which he expressed in his debate of the Buenos Aires candidates, was not the first controversy exposed regarding family issues. 3 years ago, he said his parents, quote, don't exist, and that the bond between parents and children, quote, is an accident. The only way I endorse the right to abortion is at the risk of the mother's life because there is a property conflict. Okay, so can we talk about that for a second? So this guy, like, the idea that, like, children are, like keep in mind, this guy thinks people are property. This is like, and it's not, it's not even like it's veiled behind anything. It's just, this is what libertarians see humans as. We are not like, you know, these beings of humanity and like interests and everything. We're just numbers. We're numbers on a spreadsheet to them. This is why I can't really subscribe to a lot of libertarian thought on a lot of stuff. Like, and I don't even know what wouldn't the libertarian position be people choose whatever it is that they want to choose anyway? Like, I've always been under the impression that libertarians also favored like freedom. This is not okay. If someone comes to rob your house, you resort to force. If your life is in danger, that's when property is at risk. It is the same as if a mother is in danger. There, I agree, because there's a conflict of ownership, which would be the body of the mother. Okay. Given the characteristics under which the interpretation is generated today, it is murder. She said at the time and opposed the abortion case of rape, saying, "Why is a crime compensated by another crime?" What? I agree. When mother is in danger of life, the baby is someone else, resorting to controversial comparisons, saying, if someone comes to rob your house, you resort to force. If your life is in danger, that's when... Do you notice they can't ever come up with a different scenario than having your house robbed? Can we stop with always going to that? It's like the most base level idiotic fucking what's it called? Like analogy, metaphor. That's when property is at risk. It is at the same time as if the mother is in danger. There, I agree, because there's conflict of ownership. Given the characteristics under which the interpretation is generated today, it is murder. Why is a crime compensated by another crime? These controversial statements. I don't talk to my parents. I don't call them parents because I don't share the moral or ethical values of either of them. Wait, but wait. Didn't you just say earlier? Oh no, he said it's an accident. Okay. So somebody's got issues. I kind of wonder why he's as boisterous as he is. To me, it's likely they don't exist anymore. To me, they're both dead. My father made me let's see. Moral, ethical values. My father made me 1,001 in my university process. But he went further, quoting former U.S. Secretary of State Kissinger. Lovely. For me, it was a great experience, relationship with his parents. Kissinger says best times are crisis times because the shit goes and the incompetent leave. Those who know and have balls remain. Ah, yeah, definitely a quote. So, yeah. So, let's keep in mind, this is the philosophy that this guy wants for Argentina. Keep in mind. Like, this is the kind of, hard times create strong men, sort of not. Strong men create weak times, hard time, or whatever. That whole fucking meme. Okay. Well, that's nice. It's really stellar. It's a stellar way to look at trying to run a nation involved with like millions of people. It's only millions of people's lives. they have to like suffer, then like, you know. Let's see. Rejects inclusion of comprehensive sex education. I wonder why. Expresses skepticism towards COVID-19 vaccines. I wonder why. Supports civilian firearm ownership. Shocker there. Favors the legalization of organ trade. What? Okay. Promotes the far-right cultural Marxism conspiracy theory. Oh, this is... Okay. Refers to a far-right anti-Semitic... Okay, so the Jews. Gotcha. And engages in climate change denial. Due to those controversies... What's funny is this dude's going to deny climate change. Deny climate change. Meanwhile, his country is suffering under a fucking extreme drought. Like, the result of climate change is staring you directly in the face, and you're just like, not there. Due to those controversies in his radical conservative economic and social policies, his victory in the primaries was deemed an upset, led by... Okay. Political positions. Milei identifies with anarcho-capitalism and paleo-libertarianism, while being, for practical reasons, a monarchist. I actually don't really have any fucking idea what monarchist means. A night watchman state, or a monarchy, whose proponents are known as, is a model of the state that is limited and minimal, whose functions depend on libertarian theory, right libertarian supported only as an enforcer and a non-aggression principle of providing citizens. Oh, wait, okay, so, wait a minute. Right-wing libertarian support enforce non-aggression principle by providing citizens with the military, the police, and the courts, thereby protecting them from the aggression, theft, breach of contract, fraud. United States, this form of government is mainly associated with libertarian and objectivist political philosophy. In other countries, monarchists is also advocates. United Kingdom, 19th century, described as Sir Charles Townsend. What? Okay. Depend on libertarian theater, right? Libertarian support only as an enforcer of non-aggression principle by providing citizens with the military. Okay. So, okay. Maybe one day I'll talk to somebody who's a monarchist as well. I'm sure it'll happen. Let's see. He also describes himself as a liberal libertarian. Political commenters categorize his ideological views as a blend of populist right-wing libertarian and conservative strands, along with ultra-libertarian economics. Right-wing populist, yeah, we already know that. He has been described as, Milei supports former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro and former United States President Donald Trump. No shocker there. Both of them fascists. Probably fascist then. Especially their anti-communism and criticism of socialism. And has compared to them for sharing an anti-leftist and anti-social justice platform. When asked about Trump and Bolsonaro, he said, I have a clear agenda which goes against everything that is socialism or communism. Again, like, do I need to really say it? The guy's not really for anything, because like from my frame of reference, libertarianism to me, in the ways that I've interacted with it, never really seems to be about very much, except for a rejection of systems and structures and just things you don't like, mostly centered around the state. Most libertarians, from my experience, don't really have a list of things that they want to build society around, or a robust prescription for, societal ills, for the betterment of the whole body politic. It's just, they just don't. I think a lot of it comes down to them thinking that if we all just went back to living without the government, and we were all just individuals living in our individual little lives, and we didn't have a government to organize and stuff, like, things would be better, even though I don't even know how any of that would ever work. Like ANCAPs, it's just like, how does any of this work? The minute somebody makes more money is the minute they have overwhelming power over everything, with no ability for any kind of governing body to outweigh them. Is there a court that do you want to settle a land dispute with a large corporation? Well, too bad. They just had a court order signed from a court that they funded and they pay the salaries of, that tells you that you legally need to move off of your land. you got a court, you maybe you went to your local court to get a deed to the land or whatever to say, oh no, this is actually yours. But at the end of the day, they can bear down on you with more court orders, with more litigation, with more everything else until you have to eventually leave. Like, it's just this stuff is just let's just let everybody let's flatten all power levels right now for 1 minute, and then like the minute you stack up everybody's bank accounts and their resources, then it's like no, the government doesn't get involved. We flatten everybody for the first 10 seconds and then that's it. And it's like that's no way how to organize society. And that's kind of a lot of it, right? That's at least my read on it. A lot of libertarianism is just, I don't want to live in society, which that's fine, but you kind of already do, and you benefit quite a lot from the development of the society we live in. But yeah, his clear agenda is don't be socialist, don't be communist. But in terms of what we are, it's not really that important. Everyone who is against socialism and communism is on the side I am on. This is my guiding principle. Yeah, again, this is Then we can have all the differences you want. In that group, we have liberals, libertarians, people from the center, conservatives, from the center right. But the limit is that no one crosses the limit of social democracy in all expressions further to the left. My alignment with Trump and Bolsonaro is almost natural, in which to say it's almost completely incomprehensible, because it's just a vibes check, I guess. Economist Carlos Quinan also compared him to Marine Le Pen of France's National Rally. Milei maintains close ties with the Spanish far-right party Vox, from which he borrowed the anti-caste rhetoric, as well as the former far-right conservative Chilean president candidate Jose Cast's economic views. While theoretically an anarcho-capitalist, Milei identifies in the short term as a monarchist or liberal libertarian. He aligns with economic liberalism and fiscal conservatism, often referencing the economic policies of Carlos Menem, who served as Argentina's president from 1989 to 99, and as economy minister Domingo Cavallo. He described them as, quote, the best economic government in Argentine history. All right, let's take a look. 89 to 99. Argentina economy 1989 to 1999. Recession in 95, fallout. All right, let's see. 1980s, let's see. Can I get a international monitor? Structural reforms in the 90s. Ooh. It's coming from the IMF. Okay, let's see. Argentina experienced serious economic and financial difficulties in the 1980s. Hyperinflation in 89 to 90 finally elicited the necessary political consensus for reform. Despite areas of concern, structural reforms implemented in the 1990s has set Argentina on the path to sustained growth. So they had, I don't really want to read the fucking, what's it called? 2002. The Great Depression was at the end of, Jesus Christ. Turbulent history of economic crises. Here we go. Give me routers. This will do. This is from a bit ago, but I think this will, let's see. 89. Democracy returned in Argentina in 83, this time to stay, with the armed forces disgraced by widespread human rights abuses. The loss of the Falklands War and poor economic management. A vast majority of Argentines deemed the armed forces unfit for power, an opinion that still prevails today. However, that did not mean stability. Under President Raul Alfonsin, public payrolls swelled while government revenues remained stagnant. In 1989, only 30,000 out of 30 million Argentines paid any income tax. Jesus. That year, inflation reached an unprecedented 5,000%, rising so fast that some supermarkets read prices out over intercoms rather than bothering to update price tags. As strikes swept the country and rioters looted supermarkets for food, Alfonsin decided to hand over power 5 months earlier to his elected successor, Carlos Menem. In 2001, Menem spent the 1990s cultivating foreign investments, slashing import tariffs, and privatizing money-losing state enterprises. Inflation fell to single digits, and Argentina was, for a time, hailed as a poster child for free market reforms by the International Monetary Fund and others. By the time Menem left office in 1999, however, rampant corruption was scaring off many investors. Contagion from financial crises in the East Asia and Russia caused capital to rush out of Argentina almost as quickly as it had come in. The currency peg that Menem used to tame inflation became untenable as the government, unable to print money, borrowed it instead. In 2001, unemployment soared beyond 20%, and reports surfaced. So, okay, not to be too reductionist, because we are going to look at an article from the American Prospect as well. But it kind of seems like there was this nice little window where, the IMF bailed them out to a degree. And now we're looking at the second that this dude gets out of office in 99, things begin to crumble. Just a little bit. Let's see. The greatest hero, the ideas of freedom. He described them as best economic government in Argentine history. Additionally, he upholds the ideas of Juan Bautista Alberdi and his constitution, and defended Alberto Benejas Lynch as, quote, the greatest hero of the ideas of freedom and the generation of 80. Milei envisions eventually dismantling the state of the Central Bank of Argentina, which he described as, quote, one of the greatest thieves in the history of mankind, allowing citizens to freely select their monetary system, including the potential adoption of a dollarized economy to combat inflation. He pledged to a sharp cut in government spending. He proposes a sharp... Okay, keep in mind, sharp cuts, if any of those are to the welfare programs that keep destitution down 10%, keep in mind, these are the solutions, is we need to increase destitution by 10%. Proposes a sharp economic shock to reduce inflation and the Argentine economy's issues and to pay the country's debt, he said. Central banks are divided in 4 categories. The bad ones, like the Federal Reserve, the very bad ones, like the ones in Latin America, the horrible ones, and the Central Bank of Argentina. Milei supports privatizing state-owned enterprises, including, shale driller YPF, public services like healthcare and education, and roads, and pledged to scrap soy taxes and ditch electric vehicle battery bid as part of his deregulation program. So the roads aren't going to get fixed unless a corporation gets paid. Kids aren't going to get educated unless somebody gets paid. Like at the end of the day, this sounds just like a lot of, all right, look, if we just let a bunch of corporations own our public enterprises, then maybe they'll invest more in the region, but none of that's going to go to regular citizens. Like, none of these solutions are going to actually do anything for the regular Argentinian. What the fuck did they get out of, oh, guess what? Your roads are now not going to be maintenance and maintained through your government. Now it's going to be through a corporation, fucking X or whatever the fuck. And they'll get around to it when they decide that it is it is within their bottom line, that it is most advantageous for them to fix your roads. He also articulated his intentions to either shut down, privatize, or redefine the National Scientific and Technical Research Council, while shutting down or merging most governmental ministries, including the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Social Development, and reduce them from 18 to 8. A video of him tearing cards from a wallboard with the names of the ministries that he wants to abolish and toss them into the air went viral. In the video, he says, quote, "The state is not the solution, it is the problem." He is opposed to trade unions, of course he is, and described the Article 14 of the Argentine Constitution, which guarantees labor rights, pensions, and the entire social security system as the country's cancer. He pledged to repeal it upon being elected president. Keep in mind, the social security and the rest of all of that is what's keeping the destitution rates, again, and I'm going to say this a couple times probably, 10% lower than they would be. Milei promises to balance the budget. Argentina has failed to meet targets for cutting its fiscal deficit and building up foreign reserves under its $44 billion arrangement with the IMF, which approved a $7.5 billion loan disbursement. In July of 2023, interview with the Financial Times about this, Milei said that if he is elected, president of Argentina, he would, quote, overshoot all the targets in the IMF deal, calling the fund's spending cuts as small compared to what he says the country needs. About the IMF, which provides Argentina with 22 bailouts, Milei said that, quote, that it, quote, doesn't care about what he described as the country's deep-rooted challenges. He said the IMF are just a bunch of bureaucrats who know that a bank's business is to charge interest. If I'm elected, it will be to solve Argentina's problems. According to his advisor, Dario Epstein, Milei pledges to balance the budget within 3 months. The first thing we have to do is to lower the fiscal deficit by 5 percentage points, which is not at all easy, as Argentina is a very critical situation with 40 to 45% poverty. What we can't do is to fire people from the public sector or lower social spending. That is very important. Milei promotes capitalism, strongly opposes communism and socialism. Yeah, we know. In a TEDx presentation that went viral on social media in 2019, Milei presented, he described as, quote, a love story about capitalism, arguing how capitalism and the free market have lifted people out of poverty. And keep in mind, people always want to cite this like, capitalism has lifted people out of poverty. That is true. It has. It also has left quite a lot of people in destitution and in poverty, because for capitalism to function and for people to actually thrive in capitalism, you need to have people. You need to have people in the bottom rungs. Capitalism does not work when everybody is thriving. There needs to be a class of people who are who are in like lower classes, who are workers, who do not have power. Milei praised some measures of the first government, Carlos Menem, whom he considers, quote, the best president in history, and his economy minister, Domingo Cavallo. In addition to that, he honored a bunch of fucking names. Move on. Milei criticized the judiciary for allegedly persecuting opponents and favoring friends, and his proposed judicial reform includes the appointment of a Supreme Court judge who he says would be a feral defender of the ideas of Albert. So again, notice that like his issue is that there's a persecution within the judiciary, but like his solution isn't to reform the judiciary. It's just to put people with his proclivities in those places. He questions the government's policies applied by the Radical Civic Union, the Justice Salvo, that one. While Milei publicly expressed that he is not a defender of the last Argentine military dictatorship, the national reorganization process, in the Dirty War, he has questioned the Dirty War's 30,000 disappeared toll. Oh, yeah. So he's like, okay. More than Karl Marx, Milei's greatest enemy is John Keynes. He argues that the only time that pure liberalism was applied was in the 1860s, and we were a prosperous country. Nice. So, we've already kind of seen a little bit of the IMF has been mentioned here, mainly because they are who, has been supplying Argentina with funds. Let's take a look from an article from the American Prospect from, when did this go up? This went up over the weekend, didn't it? No, not quite the weekend. Just before the election, I should say. So, Argentina. Vultures come home to roost. Oh, we can actually listen to this? Should we listen to it? Ooh, let's listen to it.
Argentina. Vultures come home to roost. Today on tap, how America's most predatory hedge funds deepened Argentina's economic miseries and helped invite a far-right reaction. On Sunday, a neo-fascist candidate named Javier Milei, in the mold of Donald Trump and Jair Bolsonaro, shocked the political establishment by placing first in the preliminary round of Argentina's presidential elections.
I think I said this past weekend. It was last weekend, I guess. Yeah, because this article went up, August 16th. So that would have been last weekend? Yes. Okay, just making sure, yeah. The election was on the 13th.
Reasons for popular frustration are not hard to discern. Argentina's inflation rate has been running in excess of 113%. The real, black market rate of the peso against the dollar keeps plummeting. After Sunday's surprise result, the central bank raised the key interest rate from 97 to 118%. This is in a country that was once among the world's wealthiest, and now has a poverty rate of around 40%. The political center, not surprisingly, has lost legitimacy. The Peronists, once a left populist outsider party, have been the governing party for much of the recent past, and are now seen as hopelessly part of the discredited establishment. In Sunday's election, the Peronist candidate, Sergio Massa, placed third. The center-right candidate, representing the mainstream opposition, came in second. It's not as if Milei has a realistically radical program to cure Argentina's ills. Like other neo-fascists, he stands for a spasm of nihilism. A one-time tantric sex coach, Milei would abolish Argentina's public health and education systems, shut down the central bank, and use the US dollar as national currency.
Jesus.
While Argentina has itself to blame for some of its woes, the international financial system, including the IMF and US-based hedge funds, share the blame. Argentina has oscillated between running up foreign debt, and then succumbing to IMF-enforced austerity programs to pay off or write off debt. None of this has rescued its economy, but it has enriched speculators. Some US-based hedge funds, notably Paul Singer's Elliott Investment Management, bought distressed Argentine bonds at about 1/6 of their face value over a 15-year period. When creditors came together to negotiate a settlement at so many cents on the dollar, Singer was the holdout. In 2001, after Argentina defaulted on $131 billion of debt, 93% of the country's creditors, in 2 restructurings, agreed to take 30 cents on the dollar. But Elliott held out for a sweeter deal. In the final settlement in 2016, Elliott netted billions at Argentina's expense.
And let's keep in mind, okay, so that being said, is this the person that you think is going to stand up to some hedge fund like that? Is this guy interested in dismantling or discrediting that system of predatory capitalism? No, he simply isn't. Do you notice that these aren't the things that Milei is actually interested in challenging? His problems are with federal spending on programs that keep the poverty and destitution rates down. His issues are primarily, it seems, with part of it is this like weird obsession with socialism, but like certainly his issues aren't with like rampant capitalism and the kind of speculative nature that the IMF and hedge funds in the US are engaging in. This isn't his solutions to all of those are pay them and move, pay them. And, whoever's left, whoever's still around in Argentina after you've paid all of the debts, after you've paid all of the debts, after you've slashed all of the taxes, all of the programs, now people, inflation's taken care of, but now people don't have jobs. Now people don't have programs to keep them from falling into worse poverty. Like, it's just all of the things that it seems like he would recommend or policies that he would actually champion would certainly help the economy, would certainly help the would certainly like fix their debt crisis, would certainly fix their inflation rate, but wouldn't actually do anything for the people of Argentina. They'd be all left on their own, because the only thing that got fixed was the economic number side of it, but you didn't fix the underlying issues with people being able to afford food, people having access to programs. Like they're like, this would just leave more people in poverty, more people in debt. Like, sure, you would have the upper classes probably be fine as they always are. Maybe you have the middle class holdout, maybe, but like anybody who's in the lower classes, which by the way is now 45%, they're done. It's over. There aren't programs to keep them afloat anymore. You would leave them to drown. You would lose, a huge percentage of the population to this kind of stuff. Because at the end of the day, the only thing you're interested in with all of those policies that we've seen so far are just, it's a bunch of austerity. All he wants to impose is a different kind of austerity, but austerity nonetheless, and austerity hasn't worked for Argentina.
For World War II, Banks that invested in the debt of South American countries, often at inflated interest rates and profits, knew that they were taking a risk. When nations defaulted on the bonds, as they often did, the creditors lost everything. But there was so much money to be made that bankers soon were offering more loans. The International Monetary Fund was created after World War II to help debtor nations refinance debt and avoid crippling austerity. But by the 1970s, the IMF had mutated into the agent of creditors, with the help of U.S. courts and U.S. bankruptcy law. There is a horrific double standard in the use of bankruptcy. Large corporations are able to use bankruptcy to shed their debts, while the same management that incurred massive losses is often able to keep control. But households and student debtors who try to use the bankruptcy process face total economic ruin. Countries are precluded from using bankruptcy to shed debts altogether. We need a massive reform of the one-sided bankruptcy laws, an end to the favorable tax and regulatory treatment of hedge funds and private equity firms, and a restoration of the role of the IMF as it was created at Bretton Woods in 19...
And keep in mind, this is like, those are actual policy prescriptions. Those are actual solutions to these problems. The underlying issues that Argentina is running into is their debt problem. And part of that comes from the fact that they've basically been, they've been on the line with, with these sorts of, with the IMF and with fucking U.S. creditors. Like, at the end of the day, this is the problem that they're running into. Like, obviously, the drought is having, and this isn't like this isn't every single problem, but like, when you have this kind of historic drought in Argentina, right? There isn't, your creditors the same way, if you're renting an apartment and you lose your job or you get sick and you have to pay a bunch of bills, but you can't, which makes it harder to pay rent. The same way your landlord doesn't really care about your personal situation. Oh, you got fired? Well, you still owe me rent at the end of the month. Is the exact same way the IMF and all the rest of these, speculators all view the economies of countries that they invest in. And when it all falls apart, they sit back and they go, okay, well, we'll write you up a plan so you can pay us back. But this is what you're going to do. You're going to make your industries available for our investment. You're going to make your resources available for our ownership. You're going to make your governmental system friendly to our interests. You are going to end up being, when you join the IMF, when you take money from the IMF or any of these other creditors, at the end of the day, you are agreeing to their terms. And Argentina's done this, it seems like, for over the last, we'll say 30 years, we'll say. And because of that kind of risk-taking and, voluntary predatory nature, because of that, that's why you're seeing all of these issues. Not because, Argentina spends too much money on its citizens. No, Argentina does spend a lot of money on its citizens, and that keeps them out of destitution. At the end of the day, those are programs by and for the people of Argentina. And those are the ones that Javier Milei wants to get rid of. He wants to get rid of your programs that keep food on your table, that keep you out of the worst possible cases of your situations. And instead, he would like to turn it over to chaos. And if you know anything about chaos, and I'm sure maybe if you watch Game of Thrones, chaos is a ladder. And there are people who are going to benefit from the chaos in Argentina if Javier Milei were to make it to ascend to the presidency. There are people who will know too well what to do the minute that, these sorts of structures, the minute that the kind of social security that they offer their citizens is taken from them. But populist, I hear. All that being said, I'm thinking it's time for the legally distinct fun half. Does that sound good to people? I think that's a good idea. Okay. Yeah. We're gonna head into the legally distinct fun half. We'll be right back.
So do not shop at Target, or else you're gay.
Spit in my mouth, look in my eyes.
Just to simplify this, I think we're just going to use.
I may keep the pantyhose on. This feels kind of good, actually.
Larger than that, Charlie. I live like a capitalist every single day.
Beat it up, N-word.
What is more important? You are culture than the Joker.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
I like black guys a lot.
The alpha males are back.
All right. I swear, if I don't like get up like immediately to get water, if it's not like I hit the button and immediately spin, I take 2 seconds to think if I want to get water. All right. Fuck. All right. So, talked a little bit about libertarian presidential candidate Javier Milei. Why don't we take a look at libertarian candidate for president in the United States? Does that sound good to everybody? That sound interesting?
The Constitution is, first of all, the best operating document for a free society known to mankind. This is my number one reason why I'm on the side of not a national divorce, but a national revival, because once you have a national divorce, the Constitution...
Yes. Okay, so Vivek Ramaswamy, presidential primary candidate for president in the Republican Party. You know, a younger guy doesn't seem to be able to be capturing a lot of the youth vote, even with the, you know, to the extent that it exists, hey, in the Republican Party. It hasn't been super successful on that front.
The Constitution is, first of all, the best operating document for a free society known to mankind. This is my number one reason why I'm on the side of not a national divorce, but a national revival, because once you have a national divorce, the Constitution itself is gone. One of the things that we don't do a good enough job of in this country is teaching the next generation what the Constitution actually...
All right, let's take a look-see, shall we? So, it's not going super well for anybody whose name doesn't start with T and ends with rump. Oh my God, that closed like all of my windows. I minimized all my windows. So we got, what do we got? Trump at 52, Haley at 3.5. we're not even gonna bother with any of the grays. Pence at 4.7, Ramaswamy at 9.3, DeSantis at 50. Oh my goodness. Look how close they were in the beginning. What is that? 43. Show me that. 43 to 37. There used to be a 6-point difference between Trump and DeSantis. That gap has widened all the way to become a fucking 5 to 20, 15 to get to 30, 25 to get to 40. What is it? 35 to get to 50, 37% gap. And, you know, Ramaswamy started, where did he start this bad boy? Well, when he first jumped in, when did he like get in? Okay, let's see. He first jumped in, it looks like, can I do this day? But nope, I have to do one of this. Entered at 2.5%, has rallied to get to just above 8. So, I mean, yeah, he's quadrupled his poll numbers. And when did I say that was? March, April, May, June, July, August. 5 months to double his numbers from 2 to quadruple his numbers from 2 to.
So one of the things I favor,
Well, that's the thing.
controversial to some people, If you want to be 18 years old, graduate from high school, and cast a ballot in this country at a young age,
Also, by the way, you don't even have to graduate high school. You just need to be 18.
you better at least pass the civics portion of the test that immigrants have to pass to actually come to this country. But revive our civic life.
By the way, do you think... Okay. So let's talk about this for a second. Poll tests. We're doing... The Republican Party is advocating for poll tests now. This is the new... this is the new... the standard here. This is the hot, fresh... that new Zoomer thing. That thing that everyone's talking about. This is their solution. Poll tests. Something that we did, 100 years ago during Jim Crow. This is their big, this is their big push here. Their big idea. When we talk about the Republicans, their big conservatives in America, their big idea is poll tests. Now, what I want to know and what I find interesting is it's not poll tests for everybody, because I think we all know who would be failing poll tests in the United States. And it's not kids that are currently taking history classes. If we implemented this countrywide to every voter, you know who would do poorly? Republican Party voters. Republican Party voters, more than anybody, would be fucking dog shit at passing these civics tests. For the simple fact that all of their political pundits, all of their political, what's the word I'm looking for? All of their, political representatives show us every single day how shallow their political education is. And, this is all they've got. And this is why the party is in a, I think, really, really dire. And I also kind of think it makes it a bit dangerous, a bit of a dire and dangerous place. They don't have anything else but fascism to offer. They don't have economic policies to offer that are popular, certainly. They hardly have, cultural policies that are favored by a majority of the United States voter base. They don't. It's why they try so hard every time something vaguely conservative gets popular, because they need to. There's a reason why every single right-wing show last week was like doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on, you have to watch this Oliver Anthony video. It's just because this is all they got. That's all. It's the only thing they have left. Their economic policies are cut the taxes for rich people and go home for the rest of the session. That's it. That's all they think. They just think cut taxes to the wealthy and it'll all be good. Even though we live in a country that's continued to cut taxes for the wealthy over the last, 4 decades or so? And what have we gotten out of it? Nothing. We haven't seen some growth in the middle class. We've seen a reduction of the middle class. But yeah, and this really, I think this just chef's kiss perfectly embodies how just kind of fucked the Republican Party is, right? Like, there isn't, they've come all the way around where to just saying, hey, are you a young voter? You're not voting for us? Because, like, what is it? Youth vote Republican. Let's see. Striking new data about youth voters should alarm. Yep. Can I get a chart? Did we not get? Oh, here it is. Strict gun laws, kind of tapering off. No. I want the youth turnout exploded. 2018. God damn it. I want. Here we go. Sure. National youth turnout, 23%. That's lower than the historic 2018. No. Top turnout state. Michigan has highest. I want to see. Here we go. Estimates youth voter turnout ages 18 to 29 in 2022. Midterms turnout, percentage eligible. So I want you to keep in mind, like, while, like, you know, obviously the young aren't like voting in some crazy numbers. God damn it. I want to. Where is. I know that, but I know that they're declaring war, but I want to know voters lean red, young voters lean blue. Okay, sure. This was semi-recently. Can I just get a fucking chart, please? Oh my God. Okay, fine. I'll do images. I don't like to do images immediately. Fine. National white youth, and yeah. Circle day after estimates youth voter turnout. 18 to this looks I don't like this chart. This looks way. I can see the fucking border. Oh, this is Pew though. Oh wait. When did this get published? Oh, this is 2008, guys. Good God. Young voters. Because, like, we saw that chart that was skeptical on elections, Republican gain midterms. Oh, God damn it. Because we saw that, like, high school boys are beginning to vote more. Okay, let's do this. What do we got? Independent, other, Democrat. Yeah, like, taking this one at face value. Let's take this one at face value. Like, the other two are already outpacing Republican. And then even independent and other, I'm going to make the assumption that, like a lot of graphs, independent doesn't mean, libertarian or something like that. Like, it means a percentage of this is going to be radical, like, socialists, probably some communists, and, like, libertarians. So we're not even talking about, like, that number isn't even all red technically. Part of that will be even deeper blues. Let's quote, 2012. But anyway, my point being is that the Republican Party has always had a lot of trouble courting young voters because their ideas are, fucking ancient. They don't have, a lot of, I think, new ideas about how to, fix climate change, how to, how to fix the housing crisis, because, and we saw a little bit of this last week, didn't we? With, on Fox News, when that, like, Gen X mom showed up to talk about how hard it is for her kids who have good paying jobs to pay rent. What are their solutions? Make change, make eye contact, don't be on your phone. Like, they don't really have solutions to these problems. It's all just moralistic. Oh, if you can't pay for a house, it's because you haven't earned it yet. Even though you're doing the exact same thing every generation before you has done, which is worked a steady job, but the paychecks are kind of garbage now, and the housing market keeps going up and up. So, no house for you. You're doing the exact same thing that your parents did 50 years ago, but you don't get anything for it. You get less for your work now than they did back then, and you're producing more products. You are almost certainly working harder, and you're doing so in an economy that, like, is making like the rich so much richer than it did before. What is it, like the average CEO pay? Like, you can see it on a, let's see, what is it? CEO pay. Let's see if I can find the one. CEO pay versus employee pay. I probably didn't spell that right. I know I didn't. Yep. CEOs received about, in 2020, it was estimated that the CEO to worker compensation ratio was 398.8 in the United States. This indicates that the average CEOs receives about 398.8 times the annual average salary production of the non-supervisory workers in the industry of their firm. Let's see if we can find it. CEO compensation, S&P index. You can kind of see that. And also this is because they've a lot of CEOs end up getting paid through stock buybacks as a way to incentivize them to keep driving keep driving revenues. Faster pace in the workers' pay. Let's see. Median worker is the okay, yeah, here we go. This is what I want. So we have median S&P 600 going up. So we're looking at the light blue, okay, everything, these CEOs of different kinds of companies, all with this nice little increase. Workers. This is it. This is all you get. As a worker, this, all your hard work over decades, all of it. This is all that matters. But, you know, you fucking CEOs, 2013, 2014, all these, this is only 2009 to 18.
So we're gonna have to think big about how we revive. It's not just, I don't
Think big, like
to follow the Constitution. That's
like poll tests.
Washington D.C. to take on, but the real problem is we have to have a population and a culture in this country that's committed to it in the first place. And if I had to choose between one or the other, the whole ball game is the second one. And
isn't this guy supposed to be a libertarian? Shouldn't you be able to choose how much information, how much civic information that you'd like to learn? Shouldn't that be like something that a libertarian should go, I think you should be able to choose how much civic education you would like to garner, or you would like to like be educated about. Aren't they freedom guys?
My focus is, and as the
I thought freedom, bud.
I'd be the youngest person ever elected to the U.S. presidency if I'm elected. I take that as my chief responsibility to pass that on to the next generation. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Youngest presidential candidate.
How are you?
Would be youngest presidential president in history. Has ideas as ancient as when did the Civil War end? 18 what is it? No, I don't remember. What's Civil War end? Yeah. Vivek Ramaswamy, fucking youngest president with the oldest ideas. He's only how old is this dude again? Where's Vivek? Vivek Rama. Yeah, how old? 38 with ideas that stretch back to 1865. I love it. What's up, Jim? How are you doing this fine evening? Jeez. Foreign policy approach offers rivals line. Lovely.
I've seen you before. Good to see you again. Yes, remind me your name again? Levi. Levi. Saw you earlier today. Good to see you, man.
He wants a picture with his swag now. Very cool.
I wish I knew what this said. Oh, it's just
Did you learn
courage.
anything tonight? What was your favorite thing that you heard tonight? Oh, you liked that. You liked that. That means
This kid's like, I would love for my generation to be denied the ability to vote. I would love for the suffrage of people my age to be held back by an educational standard that most certainly is not equal across all states and all income brackets.
It's a lot to me. So you know that means I said that in order to vote, you got to be 25 instead of 18.
Imagine people who
still
like
vote at 18.
do the you have a right to a gun, you have a right
And you're okay
to
with that?
like these are the type of people who are like, you have a right to own a firearm, you have a right to free speech, but you don't have a right to participate in your in the running and decision making of your country. Like, it's a wild hypocrisy right there to me. Like,
All right, man, we have a deal. I'm going to try my best to make it happen.
Yep, we hope you make it.
Thank you.
We
Thank
want
you.
to be president, don't
Thank
we,
you.
Levi?
I appreciate
Yes,
that.
we do.
I'm going to do my best.
We love you a lot.
I'm going to do my best.
Great.
You guys have the
Yes.
power to do it. So.
Yes, we do. Let's get in here.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
All right, 1, 2, and 3.
Man,
Thank you.
Jesus.
What's your name?
Sarah.
Sarah, it's nice
It's
to meet
just-
you. Good positive spirit
I
alive.
like your policy of the voting age thing.
You do? How old are you?
27.
You're 27 and you're a fan of it.
Yes.
'Cause-
Because I had no idea what I was doing when I was 18.
Well,
I had
see,
no
neither
idea.
did I. And so
So, okay, let's talk about this for 2 quick seconds. one might say, hey, Josh, 18-year-olds don't know, like, you couldn't possibly argue that 18-year-olds have any idea of, like, how to run government or, like, tax policy or any of the rest of the stuff. So, like, why, don't you think, like, voting should be restricted to people of a, of a certain, like, educational standard? Maybe, maybe we should, like, require that they have some kind of knowledge of, like, how government works and how taxes work and how really any of the function of government works. Like, isn't that kind of a good idea? Make sure that the voting population is educated. To which I understand the premise and I get the instinct to go, what if we made sure that everybody who voted, there was like a standard of understanding that they knew what they were voting for? And I get that instinct. I understand how that sounds good, how that sounds like, that sounds like a maybe a noble idea or a novel idea, I should say. But, like, keep in mind, this is the thing. This is the problem with democracy. And this is what I mean by a problem with democracy. Democracy puts power in the hands of everybody. And the problem with democracy is that it does not discriminate against people who are knowledgeable and people who are not. Your Vivek Ramaswamy entrepreneur, crypto, whatever type guy has just as much of a say in the forming, the process, the representation of his government as I do. A line cook at a restaurant and a Twitch streamer who does politics. We are equal under this system to that 27-year-old right there. And that's what makes democracy fucking messy. Would it be easier to run a country in a technocratic fashion where people who are educated to make all the decisions and hire all the people and do all the stuff? Would that be easier? Yes. Would that be more effective at delivering positive outcomes to that society? I think there's an argument to also yes. There is an argument to that I think, like, yeah, if you just left it to people who are the best at it. Yeah. But, like, we don't live in that world, right? We don't live in a world where the best people to do this or that thing are always the best people to actually do it, right? Like, that's not, and not everybody's, like, skill sets always, I think, or their, like, intellect in a subject always translates one-to-one when it comes to government service. Because government service, you have to have, there are different incentives and different goals in mind when you do that. But, like, also, like, this is again, like, kind of how democracy works to a degree. Is it messy? Will we absolutely vote for people that I think are horrible decisions and we will put people in power who don't deserve that power, who will do nothing but abuse that power, who will only serve to hurt the people that they are, governing over? Yeah, that's gonna happen. But I think, like, I value freedom, and freedom as a value means freedom to make a wrong decision, freedom to learn from that wrong decision and move forward. I think that's a value in and of itself. But, and, like, I would think that somebody who, labels themselves as a libertarian, somebody who, obviously who purports to care about freedom would recognize this or have some kind of fealty to just the raw concept of freedom, especially libertarians who tend to be, absolutists when it comes to freedom. But he's not, weirdly, and I find that really weird. And I think part of it is quite frankly, there's not a lot of youth voters in the Republican Party. So this is a freedom that, the rejection of it, the removal of it, would do nothing but help somebody like Vivek Ramaswamy. So that's why he advocates for it. While being the youngest candidate for president, the possible youngest president in our history, Vivek Ramaswamy is actively promoting a policy that would strip the freedom of people arbitrarily, by the way. There is no, keep in mind, the other question to this is, okay, you want to do a poll test? Well, here's the questions, buddy boy. What are the poll test standards? What are the standards? Are they, you need to know New York's District 8 bill that was passed last session to be able to vote in the New York primaries statewide? How many people paid attention to that? The standard of how you even pass this is going to end up being up to a political party or a political body, possibly. And then are we just going to see, is this just going to devolve into bias poll testing? I mean, and will the poll test be national? What do people do in the South? Are we going to see the same trends that we already see in terms of education? Kids in the North get the vote. Kids in the, but the kids in the South in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida, those sorts of states, they're not going to, are we just going to see their suffrage taken away? No, I think everybody should be able to vote. If you're 18, you should be allowed to vote. I actually am starting to think we could definitely lower the age, but I'm 18 is fine. A lot of things unlock for you at level 18. I'm fine with that being the voting age. But, I certainly think if we're going to recruit soldiers at 18, they should damn sure be able to, to participate in the government, in the voting.
And so, but if I at least do the civics test, then I think we might know something. So everyone older tells me don't do this because young people are going to like it. All the young people I talk to tonight tell me they actually liked it. So it's kind of interesting.
Isn't it?
It is kind of interesting, right?
Thank you, sir.
So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Everyone and let's be clear here. Everyone likes a test they think they can pass. Now, why is this on this playlist? This isn't on here. Why are you on this playlist? We did this last week. What? Look, it's not on this playlist. Do I have it in my downloads? Is it still in my downloads? Oh, it might be. I thought I deleted those. Okay. Anyway, let's take a look at the other one. So also, this one also dropped, I think, last week. I don't cover Vivek too often, but I kind of felt like it since we were already on. That's not the playlist for this week. That is old. That's from last week. YouTube, catch up. What the hell's wrong with you? Anyway, so Vivek Ramaswamy, again, wants to implement poll tests, an idea from 1865 or whatever. Also, apparently went viral in an exchange with a LGBTQ activist. I saw a very quick snippet of this, but I didn't want to watch. I didn't want to watch too much because I didn't want to pre-watch. All right, I try not to pre-watch too much. But man, look at this fucking guy. This dude is fucking angry.
Brand new this morning, the first edition of the Fox News Power Rankings for the Republicans.
Yeah.
Have called %. So
Yes, we know.
Haley does. What is Nikki?
What is this? Wait. MAGA base.
62.
Persuadable non-Trump. Jeez. No, take me to the video. Why is there so much prelude? I want to see the video. Okay, there we go.
Vivek Ramaswamy. We just want to play.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. His name rhymes with cake. I should have known. Vivek Ramaswamy.
It went this way with a woman from the LGBTQ community.
I don't think that somebody who's religious should be forced to officiate a wedding that they disagree with. I don't think somebody who is a woman who's worked really hard for her achievements should be forced to compete against a biological man in a swim competition. I don't.
By the way, biological male.
Think that somebody who's a woman that respects her bodily autonomy and dignity should be forced to change clothes in a locker room with a man. That's not freedom, that's oppression.
So just so our viewers know.
Speaking of which, she's talking about trans women. Who are women, by the way?
Went on for a while before and after that. And
what?
He thanked her and she thanked him and they both.
What? What? Did we not show the whole clip? God damn it. Okay. Fine. Can I do we have, do I really? Oh no. Viral in a good way. Ooh, does he though? Really? Is there not? Do I have to like go on Twitter? I'm not going on Twitter to find this. I'm not going to Twitter to find unapologetic pro-life. I don't care. American Pride Month. I thought they were against Pride Month. Fine, I'll take a look at this then. I'll take American Pride. No, god damn it, this is still fucking Fox News, who always wants to talk around shit. Porter confronting Emma. No. Oh, it's this. Yeah, it's this video, but I want to see Black conservative perspective. I'm okay. Transgender military ban. Why? Fascinating counter. Clever. Okay. Okay. Fine.
Moving along.
Can I see the whole video, please? Is it just him listing a bunch of propaganda?
What your views on
Okay. Thank you.
same-sex couples were?
I don't have a negative view of same-sex couples, but I do have a negative view.
I don't have a negative view. I don't care if you have a negative or positive view. I care what laws you're going to pass.
Of a tyranny of the minority. So I think that in the name of protecting against a tyranny of the majority, and there are times in this country's history where we have had a tyranny of the majority. Now, in the name of protecting against tyranny of the
From what I understand, we just call that majority rule normally, but like tyranny of the majority makes like, you know, majority rule sound scary. And there's a reason why you only hear Republicans talk about this, and it's because they're a minoritarian party.
The majority,
especially in the U.S.
Tyranny of the minority. And I think that that's wrong. I don't think that somebody who's religious should be forced to officiate a wedding that they disagree with. I don't.
Well, that depends, doesn't it? If we're talking about a, well, actually, from what I understand, there hasn't been a law about priests or whoever having to officiate gay weddings. It's people handing out, who work for the government, by the way, marriage licenses. That from what I am I crazy? Is there a priest? Let's take a look. Priest refuses gay marriage officiate. I don't know if that's Church of England. Bishops refuse to back gay marriage. House passes bill on pastors' right to refuse. Wait, why can clergy opt out of same-sex marriages? Let's see. Former Catholic priest back gay marriage in Washington. Church of England. Okay, so yeah, so same-sex marriage rulings. Yeah, there's approves religious weddings for gay. Yeah, so this is made up. That's what I thought.
I don't think somebody who is a woman who's worked really hard for her achievements should be forced to compete against a biological man.
Well, they have to compete against biological males all the time in the workforce. And we already know that that's incredibly unfair, right?
In a swim competition. I don't think...
Oh, he's talking about Riley Gaines. Okay, we already know the story. I'm not getting into it. It's bullshit. Riley Gaines is a bitch baby.
Her bodily autonomy and dignity should be forced to change clothes in a locker room with a man. That's not...
Well, no, they're changing locker rooms with a transgender woman. Men aren't allowed in women's locker rooms. Women are, to which transgender women are women. It's pretty simple.
And Douglas,
is that literally it? Is that literally the entire clip? It's just, oh, okay. I thought it was a little more substantive over that. Vivek Ramaswamy is the heir to Andrew Yang's. Oh no. Well, you know what? Since we're on Ramaswamy, fuck it. We'll take it. We'll watch.
All right, Saga, what are you looking at?
We'll watch Saga.
For those
then.
who know the mythology of the show, it really does all start with Andrew Yang.
Fuck it.
Back in 2020, during the Democratic primary, Crystal and I started a radical experiment on Rising. Can we cover the news in a way that doesn't make people hate each other and isn't the typical partisan BS you see on TV? We're plugging away, pleased with our modest.
I want to. Let's see. I actually want to read these comments. Let's see. Because I've seen Breaking Point's comment sections. They're not exactly non-controversial.
Progress. And then Andrew Yang showed up for an interview. We treated him seriously. After that, it went stratospheric. So because of this, I always have a very soft spot for Andrew Yang and for the Yang Gang. What we saw at that time was that Yang and his supporters' only desire was to be treated with respect by the media and the overall electoral process. Pretty much until the end, he was denied that respect, and in many ways, he continues to do so. But But his campaign did spawn a lot of lessons. For me especially, Yang was, I believe, the first true candidate of the internet, in that he quite literally could not have ever existed.
What? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Andrew Yang is the first candidate of the internet, but not Bernie Sanders. Not close the gap on Hillary Clinton in 2016. Enough about a damn emails. Not Bernard. Okay, I don't. That's kind of amazing to me, considering a lot of Bernie's support was from like online, and like that is how he built. Okay. Just social media.
There were predecessors, to be sure. Barack Obama, for example, he used his website to raise money in an unprecedented way from small donors. But at the end of the day, he was a traditional politician. He was a sitting U.S. senator. Yang, for all intents and purposes,
Bernie is a fucking social. Okay.
Was just a dude who wrote a book with the message, though, that spread enough through the annals of the internet.
Do dudes who write books not run for president? I feel like that's like a pretty normal thing.
So with this election, the question arises, who is the successor to Andrew Yang? In my opinion, we already have three. Two of them are on the Democratic side, RFK Jr. and Marianne Williamson. Both are probably even more marginalized by the media and the establishment than Yang was because of the current lack of primary process.
Yeah, I wonder why. I wonder why that is. I wonder why somebody like Marianne Williamson has been shut out of like basically all media consideration. RFK Jr. certainly, if he wasn't a psycho, if he wasn't a quack, then he'd probably have a better chance. But sadly, he is.
But on the Republican side, we're seeing a different story. And it's important to try and understand why and how this campaign appears to be working. And that campaign is Vivek Ramaswamy's. Ramaswamy, by all rights, should be a footnote to the 2024 campaign. He has never held elected office. He's never really been involved in capital P politics at all, really, before 2021.
He's just an investor. He's an entrepreneur.
Came out of nowhere with a book called Woke Inc., written after 2020, which is when he first came on my radar. But even at that time, the seeds of his so far successful campaign were planted. He seemingly did every podcast that asked, interviews big and small, mainstream media, but independent as well. And he used his Twitter account to spread the word.
So this is also a good, this is also kind of a good example, I think, to the differences between right-wing media and left-wing media, especially online. Vivek Ramaswamy has gained a lot of this traction and has quadrupled his poll numbers to 8%. Not through, this through campaigning and messaging and through this, I think, grassroots support. It's been through showing up on a bunch of right-wing talk shows, because the right wing is a lot more well-funded in terms of their media operations than the left wing is. If you want a good example, look at, literally how many left or how many right wing like shows, little talk shows do they have, and how many little podcasts and how many networks and everybody else. And then, on the left, you've got people like me, you've got incredibly small, like little podcasters, people who make like a video a month or something. I don't do this out of a studio. It's out of my bedroom. This isn't a very well-funded, poll of the, of ideology over here. Unfortunately, we're not, nobody's contacted me about spreading leftist ideology, for money. It just hasn't happened. I'm awaiting my offers. I'll let you know when they come in. Whereas for somebody like Vivek Ramaswamy, he's got Joe Rogan. He can show up on Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, Tim Pool, any wide number of right-wing outlets, right-wing YouTube online shows to make his case and to, what's the word I'm looking for? To kind of spread, get his name out there and everything else. It's just a lot easier for them on that side. And, it's success is success. He's, like I said, he's moving up a bit in the polls. But like Andrew Yang, Andrew Yang showed up on some shows. I think he showed up on TYT. He showed up on Breaking Points, but there just aren't that many shows to show up on. There just aren't. There isn't this cavalcade of networks and shows wanting to have you on and everything. It's mostly right-wing media.
If you go ahead and take a look at this, just like Andrew Yang,
when
he announced for president, he's continued his strategy. He has appeared just like Yang did, both on mainstream media, but also shows like ours, Megyn Kelly, the All In podcast.
Megyn Kelly.
One with a massive platform. A search for Ramaswamy's name on YouTube yields videos with hundreds of thousands to even millions of views. And anecdotally, Vivek's interview with us yielded one of the most views and downloads of any candidate in the race. RFK Jr. is the only one that comes close in interest. Similar, really, to RFK and Marianne.
And RFK Jr., another, let's be honest here, right-wing candidate. The guy's not running a left-wing campaign.
And it, though, is the mainstream media is having a weird time with all of this. Vivek is getting coverage here and there from the New York Times or others, but over on Fox, they really showed their hand in a recent segment on the so-called Fox News power rankings. Take a listen to this.
I think we were watching
that. Missed it from our previous bit on Thursday.
Our power rankings show former President Trump keeping a firm grip on the
God, that's a fucking
here's what we have, Dana.
Botox
He
face.
is far and away the front runner. Ron DeSantis, Tim Scott are in contention.
Oh yeah, we have the debate this Wednesday.
5 others in the conversation, and the rest are on the outside looking in.
Hi, Dana and Bill. That's right. Feeling right at home here in Iowa. We can tell you that this morning, Senator Tim Scott breaking into the top 3 in those Fox News power rankings that were just released.
So Fox, in a system that they literally just made up, decided that Tim Scott is now in play. But what does the actual data tell us? The RCP average of polls shows us clearly it's Trump, DeSantis, and Ramaswamy. If you are to believe a smattering of recent polls...
Let's see, Trump 55, DeSantis 14, Jesus, Ramaswamy 7, Christ.
Ramaswamy is actually tied with DeSantis, and in some has even overtaken him. So how can they justify putting Scott ahead of him when in the actual average he's multiple candidates behind? The answer comes down to the same institutional bias that we saw with Yang. They simply cannot believe that it's real. And look, maybe it isn't. One red flag for Vivek was that the most recent New York Times Siena poll found him at nearly 2%, far below the other averages. Maybe that was an outlier. Maybe the others won't. But within the system that we have, it's clear that he is a much more serious contender than many traditional candidates, at least as serious as they can be within the...
Also, keep in mind, the only reason that they're actually keeping, I think, Vivek out of the conversation is an institutional bias, because certainly they don't have a problem with his politics. His politics, I think, are almost certainly in line with Fox News's interest and the picture that they want to paint, moving forward or whatever. But, most of it is just they don't think he can win, and they don't see him as a legitimate contender. He said earlier, he just wrote a book. That's all he did. He wrote a book. And a lot of times I think you see with like news orgs and politicians, they have this, I think, kind of smug nature about them, where it's like, oh, it's about more than just writing a book, man. It's about legislating, even though Senate hasn't passed anything in like fucking forever, and all anybody ever argues about the culture war.
Confines.
I don't know why I'm doing Triple H.
Party. Which brings us to the lesson section for the future. Considering Trump's complete domination of the party and the press and the mind of the GOP voter, it seems clear he is most of the conversation around so-called competition. It's all academic. What can we learn from Ramaswamy candidacy, at least so far? One lesson is clear. If you have something to say, you got to say it. And you got to say it loudly and to everyone that will listen. And I can tell you that booking him was incredibly easy relative to many of these other candidates. The others have been a Byzantine process of negotiation with.
My God, Nikki Haley. Looks like a fucking titan. What is going on? Why? Stop it. It's like stop smiling. Jesus.
Aides on timing, often getting no response, despite the fact that shows like ours are watched by millions of people. At the same time, we get no response that I'll see these candidates then pop up on a weekend CNN hour, watched by probably 1/5 the number. Why? They're playing an old game. They are wedded to the old style. Traditional questions, traditional answers. Second, though, is of uniqueness. Having something to say is not the only metric. You got to say something that is genuinely unique relative to everyone else. And when
like poll tests, those are unique. Nobody's been talking about those since the 1860s.
Comes to defending Trump, Vivek always goes the extra mile. In a signal to Trump supporters, he's on their side. When it spans foreign policy, climate, wokeness, any other issue, he's got an extra long Twitter essay loaded with
I love the wokeness thing, because it's just like, yeah, it doesn't mean anything. Like what Vivek Ramaswamy's wokeness definition is like wildly different from like 5 other people's. It doesn't mean anything. Foreign policy means foreign policy.
and he comes prepared with interviews to actually defend his positions. He's perfected the online art of saying something outrageous and then having the intellect to at least back up some of it rhetorically, which scores him earned media and makes people pay attention. All successful internet candidates have done this. Yang with UBI, Marianne with radical acceptance, RFK Jr. on the COVID establishment.
We're really not going to say Bernie. We're really not going to say Bernie.
Powerful is a
That's amazing. The idea that Bernie wasn't an internet candidate.
Closer to my own personal dream, a world where the gatekeepers actually don't matter at all anymore, and that anyone, anywhere with something to say may.
The difference is Bernie had like institutional power and that kind of internet, like underground appeal.
Even today, I just saw Time Magazine did like the race for Trump, and it's like Trump and then DeSantis behind him, but then they put Tim Scott and Nikki Haley behind. DeSantis, and then Vivek seated next to Mike Pence. And I'm like, well, hold on a second. You know, if you're going by polls alone, it should be DeSantis and Vivek sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
I think they just can't get it through their head that somebody doesn't come up through the traditional system. And listen, I mean, I get that. I understand, but...
You know, didn't they write a book? I know, I'm listening, but I also remembered that I also noticed that they have the Populist Guide to 2020. Didn't they write a book? Like, I don't know what the book said, but also, did that work out for the populist candidate? Not really. But yeah, Vivek's a weird guy. I think the lesson, the actual lesson I think should be learned from this is probably like I don't know, have some policies that people actually like. Like to me, you know, just saying I don't like wokeness. I don't know if that's really enough anymore. You know what I mean? Like I just don't think that's enough for people in 2023. You know, maybe in maybe in I don't know, 2000 and certainly maybe in 2009, 2010. You could maybe even 09 more particularly, just because that's in between cycles. But like, you know, in 09, I can see the wokeness, just having anti-wokeness be part of your campaign, be successful. But in 2023, I don't see it. I don't see where you can where there's just any space there. Jim's back. Is that supposed to be a Jim Cramer reference? That feels like a Jim Cramer reference. He's the only Jim I know who supposedly knows how to make money. Oh, goodness. Okay, let's see. Should we... I'm trying to think. Should we do... Ooh, okay. So I'm debating here because there's a Marjorie Taylor Greene thing where she was complaining about the Trump indictments, and there's also a Mark Levin segment complaining about the Trump indictments, and I'm torn because Mark Levin I would love to tear into, just because I have a 30-year running grudge with this piece of shit. You know, I have a bit of a grudge out of the programming that he's pushed onto my family members. But Marjorie Taylor Greene's so much more fun. Levine just takes himself so over seriously. I don't know. It's also his video's a lot longer. Maybe we'll just watch Marge real quick, and then if we have time, we'll play. I'll play some video games, maybe. Yeah. I think that's what I think I'm gonna do. Oh, God, I hate Mondays, man. More conspiratorial, which is lower hanging fruit. It is. I mean, Levin isn't. I wouldn't say. Yeah. Levin is just. No. Let's do the high hanging fruit, shall we?
Hello, America. Welcome. I'm Mark Levin, and this is.
Oh, buddy. All right. I'm gonna intro this really simply and really briefly. So, Mark Levin is a old fucking dinosaur of a political commentator from the 90s, is right-wing talk radio days. He has done a number on specifically my father's ability to analyze politics, and for that, I am going to now watch this video and do my best to tear it a second, third, and possibly fourth asshole, because I hate this fucking guy, and had to listen to him on the way to school every morning. Maybe not every morning, whenever my dad took me to school, which wasn't every single morning. But yeah, that's why I'm here. That's why I picked this video. I'm here for blood. I'm assuming he's just gonna bitch about Trump. Let's just go. Whoa, what just happened? Oh, okay.
This is Life, Liberty, and Levin. We have two great guests tonight, Senator
Christ,
Tom
alliteration,
Cotton and
good job.
Hansen. But before I go to our great guests, we really need to take a step back and see.
Check it out. All right. I will check it out, mainly because I'm... Let's see, what do we got? What the hell is this? What did Carl Jung say about Jewish? Why is it? Okay, let's see. Exploring 4 quotes of Jung about the significance of Kabbalah for what in the Freudian psychology, the difference between Jewish and Christian spirituality and evolution of consciousness. I'm interested mainly because I have no fucking clue what I'm even reading. Sure, hit me with it.
Hey, what up, Seekers? Welcome
Oh my goodness. Okay, the audio is shit, but okay. Gotta turn that down just because it's a bit sharp.
back to this third part of the series on Jung and Jewish mysticism. In today's video, if you want to see the first 2 videos, click somewhere up here. Awesome. In today's video, we are going to talk about some quotes that Jung had to say about Kabbalah itself, and see if we can make sense of
Mystical
what he said by
philosophy
them,
of
because they are
Orthodox Judaism. Interesting.
kind of
All right, we're speeding this up.
Make sure to stick around to the end of
Whoa.
the video where we have some really epic project news. We are launching... You're gonna have to wait till the end of the video to find out. Stick around, catch you on the other side.
Seekers of Unity. Oh no. Oh, okay. What? For the record, I'm not religious and I have no idea what the fuck Kabbalah sure is, but I'm at least morbidly interested. I'm really hoping this doesn't turn into Jewish question stuff. I don't. I'm assuming it doesn't.
We're gonna go through them one by one.
But we are doing this 1.25 speed.
Talk about them and hear back from you in the comments.
I know that Young has had a great academic impact in the secular world. This is true?
Okay, number 1. So there was a woman by the name of Edith Schroeder who wrote to Jung asking him about what he thought of the impact and responsibility of Jewish thought and Jewish mysticism on the psychologies of Jung and his predecessor and teacher initially, Mr. Freud, Sigmund Freud. In case you don't know which Freud I'm speaking about.
Hasn't
she?
Again, I'm not. I didn't take psychology, but wasn't Freud like pretty? What's the word? Wasn't a lot of his like work? What's the word I'm looking for? Not undermined, but haven't a lot of people kind of turned on his work over the last however many years since his death? I don't know. You can tell me.
Asked specifically about, and I'll read you the quote, the significance of Freud's Jewish descent for the origin, content, and acceptance of psychoanalysis. And Jung responded that in order to fully comprehend and appreciate the origins of Freud's thought, one would have to, and I quote, one would have to take a deep plunge into the history of the Jewish mind. This would carry us beyond Jewish orthodoxy into the subterranean workings of Hasidism, and then into the intricacies of Kabbalah, which still remained unexplored psychologically.
Interesting.
This happens to line up
Discredited,
well
that's the word,
with
thank
what
you.
Freud is reported to have said.
Just about the impact of sexuality and Jews.
Jewish
Yeah.
mysticism, and I quote,
I only really know him for that stuff too.
this is
All right, what do we
gold.
got?
Very millennial of Freud. Now, this statement is an interesting one because one may not expect to see so much similarity.
I'm a millennial. We don't say gold. We say fire. What? I don't. Okay.
Similarity or influence from Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah, and Hasidut on Freud's thought. Freud being quite a secular thinker. But it turns out that there actually may be a strong case here behind Jung's words. And if you want to get the full scope of this, I would recommend reading David Bacon's, I don't know, Sigmund Freud and the Jewish mystical tradition, where he covers this in great length. Jung's assertion that the intricacies of Kabbalah and Hasidism, the
I can feel the edges of my brain.
Unexplored psychologically is an interesting statement. And one
fucking
may argue that in fact Hasidism does explore the psychological
stretch out to the walls, trying to process all of this.
Scholars point out, does not begin with Hasidut itself, but Kabbalah begins to psychologize itself in its own literature. And
God, okay, I'm gonna sound like a piece of shit. And I'll just be honest. I really don't like psychology. Not because I don't think it's valuable or because I think that there's anything wrong with it. I feel like, do you ever get that feeling? Okay, do you ever get that feeling like psychology is all about like thinking about thinking? Like it's the most like, okay, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to think about thought for like 5 hours, and when I'm done with that, I am then going to think about the process of thinking about thought. Like it is the most like, oh, and it gives me such like a like my ADHD kicks in so much because I'm just like, oh my God, just do the thing, just do the thing or whatever or something. Ugh.
Hasidut is not simply the psychologization of Kabbalah, although it is seen by some to be as so in popular conception. I do actually plan
also,
on talking.
Was Freud it wasn't fucking Hasidic, was he? Not Hasidic. It wasn't Orthodox, was he? I have like no idea dude's history. I don't think he was. I mean, I guess logic dictates he could have, but I just don't know.
Talking about Jung's psychologization of Kabbalah and Hasidut. And if you hang into the series, we will get to that fascinating discussion.
I don't think I will. I don't think I'll make it. I don't know if I'm wise enough for this. What are the comments like? I'm kind of curious. Oh my goodness, I can't stop smiling for the great new revelation of, oh my goodness. Okay. For the last year I've been calling slumbering enthusiasm. Oh my God, this feels like reading a spirit science. Screaming genius. Very small knowledge of Kabbalah. I still met James Kirsch. Read recently that Jung in his 80s, had a visionary experience while being very ill in bed, moving in and out of consciousness. He was administered to by a group of Jewish women who fed him kosher food. Later, he processed this experience more deeply. Oh my God, I'm a person who was born in the Church of England, but who has spent most of his life questioning everything and tried to understand why. Oh, what's so weird? So much of this. I'll be honest, I can't relate to this much mysticism. This kind of mysticism makes me uncomfortable. Wasn't Jewish and didn't read Hebrew or Aramaic. Like people who do the drugs in the forest and do the whole thing, or the mysticism stuff, man, it is well past my, I think I had a boss actually, I actually had a boss once who was, he was very much, into kind of like the, mystical side of stuff, like, into like rocks and stones and all that sort of stuff, and also mushrooms and a lot of other stuff, but very much into a lot of that kind of realm of spirituality. And I remember him asking me once, he's like, Josh, have you ever like sat and meditated for like, maybe like a couple hours or something? Have you ever like, sat and really felt the world around you? Have you really like felt the universe like around, like really felt it? And I remember asking him, being like, what the fuck are you talking about, first of all? And secondly, like, no. Like, you can tell me about it. I'm interested to hear what this experience was like. But man, there's like no interest in me for, like, I was just like, I'm not really a spiritual guy. I'm really not. and this sort of stuff always, it's always a bit odd to me. Nothing wrong with any of it. Although I think some of it sometimes can lead to some, I think, bad, like, political instincts, you know, because I think, you know, when you dive a little too deep into some forms of mysticism, you end up, I think, writing a lot of prescriptive and essential, like, essential, like, opinions into your politics. I think there's a bit of that, but, you know, I mean, yeah. Kabbalah and Jungian thought. Interesting. All right. Well, I can't make it through this. I'm sorry, Jim. I literally can't make it through this. I will sit here. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to put this on and I'm going to stare at it, mouth agape, and constantly say how confused and lost I am and how heady this stuff is. I don't have anything to offer on this topic. I am just not the person to talk to about this sort of stuff. I don't know if I wish I was, but I certainly wish I was better to talk about on spiritual topics. I'm just not. But I appreciate the link. I mean, it's always good to look at stuff you're not 100% familiar with. But anyway, I'm closing this now before my brain expands outside of my ears. Anyway, where was I? Right, this asshole.
See what's happening to our country. I couldn't be happier that you're here this evening. There was a great philosopher. He didn't live that long, but a great philosopher.
Don't you dare be.
In the 1800s. Okay. His name was Frederick Bastiat. He wrote a little book called The Law. Ronald Reagan had that book, among many other books.
Yeah, he probably had a lot of books.
His bookshelves at his home.
Ronald Reagan was a fucking actor, you idiot.
What the man said was incredibly profound.
Oh my God. I just noticed how much my dad talks like this guy. God, fuck this dude.
And I want to quote him very, very briefly to lay the foundation for what I want to get to with you this evening. He said, the law perverted, and the police powers of the state perverted along with it. The law, I say, not only turned from its proper purpose, but made to follow an entirely contrary purpose.
So, okay, so we're doing the law isn't... Do you think we could think of some examples where the police, the power of the police, the power of the law has been turned against people and used for a purpose that is not one at the heart of a nation's interests? Do you think that we could think of some examples that aren't just Donald Trump being arrested for laws that he broke? Do we think we could find that?
The law become the weapon of every kind of greed. Instead of checking crime, the law itself is guilty of the evils it is supposed to punish.
Yes. You mean like when regulators and the law allows for corporations to crash their trains, to pollute the waters, to burn down entire towns in Hawaii. Like, when corporations are allowed to do all these things that lead to either the death, disease, or both of the citizens of the United States, and the U.S. as a regulatory body goes and moves right along. Oh, you mean that? You mean that sort of thing? You know, that's what I think. When I hear that quote, that's kind of what I'm thinking, is when the law is written in such a way and perverted in such a way so that, when you or I or somebody, in the lower classes, somebody without power goes and steals a fucking candy bar, we get to go to jail for a night and possibly, go to jail for a little bit longer for shoplifting. Meanwhile, if you, pollute a city, if you pollute a water source, if you crash your trains in the middle of Ohio and cause a fucking nuclear looking ass explosion, in the middle of the town, then, it's just, you made a mistake. It's okay. People only got sick. Some people only died. It's fine. It's fine. Cause people to get cancer. It's fine. It's fine.
That unfortunately, law by no means confines itself to its
Why
proper
is the
function.
U in? Okay.
And when it has exceeded its proper functions, it is not done so merely in some inconsequential and debatable matters. The law has gone further than this. It has acted in direct opposition to its own purpose.
And again, what's the purpose of the law, right? And like the purpose of the law is just to give us guardrails and standards for behavior, right? But what do you do when laws are written, when like laws are used, where like, again, I mentioned it earlier, you and me go and steal something, you and me go and, go and rob a bank, whatever it might be, something on the smaller end. I guess robbing a bank is on the smaller end, but you get what I mean. Shoplift, something like that. The law comes down heavy on you. If you're a bank and you, I don't know, let's say, open bank accounts, faulty bank accounts, for your customers to inflate the your numbers of members at your bank, to do any of that stuff. Do you go to jail for that? You crash the economy. Do you go to jail for that? Anybody go to jail for that? No, nobody did. The economy crashed. Millions of people lost their houses, lost their jobs, everything else. The entire world economy, falls apart. And what happens? Banks and all of these private organizations, nothing happens to them. Maybe there's a fine, maybe there's a fee, but it doesn't outweigh the amount of money that they made. But like, again, keep in mind, I'm listing all of these examples. He's going to get to the thing that he's talking about. That's a perversion of this law. And do you notice that all the stuff I'm saying are pretty obvious and pretty, oh yeah, these are like really big problems. These are really huge problems with the way that our laws are written, with the ways that they're structured, with the way that they're enforced. Oh yeah, like these are pretty, I think pretty obvious, pretty observable. But what is he going to identify as so appalling to this law that he cares about so much? The vague, and of course it's always like, oh, well, like, the law's purpose, which is to guard society and its, and its standards, right? But like, when we say a society, who are we even talking about? We're talking about the people. So like the metric for harm done should be how many people are harmed by this. And I think, crashing economies and, destroying companies with predatory speculative schemes, stuff like that. I think that's a lot worse than what he's going to identify.
The law has been used to destroy its own objective. It has been applied to annihilating the justice that it was supposed to maintain, to limiting and destroying rights, which its real purpose was to respect. The law has placed the collective force at the disposal of the unscrupulous, who wish without...
And keep in mind, the right, what's the right here that he's complaining about? The right to what exactly?
Without risk, to exploit the person, liberty, and property of others. It has converted plunder into a right.
Goddamn, dude, you're going to read the whole fucking book?
And it has converted lawful defense into a crime in order to punish lawful defense.
Yep. And what does that sound like but a bank taking your house because they've bet too much on it and now need to foreclose on it?
It was written almost 200 years ago, and that is exactly what's happening to our country today with the Democrat Party and this Marxist movement.
Marxist.
Let's just take a big picture look here. Let's look at the federal level, the judges, the Department of Justice, as applies to former President and candidate Donald Trump.
Amazing.
In Washington, they used a D.C. grand jury to bring Florida charges. Venue shopping in violation of Department of Justice rules for prosecutors and grand juries. Grand jury abuses by the so-called special counsel, including the denial of attorney-client privilege and...
That's 10 minutes. Want to check a minute of it because I think it's clear. All right, this is your only chance. Oh my God, Jews for Judaism. Oh my goodness. What is Kabbalah? And what is
So we're going to discuss Kabbalah.
Kabbalah.
And it's a topic that is often not well understood.
About California?
First of all, aside from the inherent difficult esoteric nature of the Kabbalah, our virtual world is overpopulated by numerous people, allegedly proponents of Kabbalah, whose teaching is far from authentic.
Right.
And that's what adds to a lot of the confusion.
I'm confused, so yes.
Actually, not that easy to find a reliable source of Kabbalistic teaching online or in popular bookstores or even in person sometimes. The old saying goes that he who says doesn't know and he who knows doesn't say. And that's very true when it comes to Kabbalah. So first, let's begin by just explaining what Kabbalah is not. What it's not. Number one,
it's kind of hard
Kabbalah
to
is
define
not
something
top
about what it's not.
psychology, self-help teachings.
Bullshit. Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Gain more control over our lives and to become more successful. That's not what Kabbalah is.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Number two, Kabbalah is not a religion or a sect within Judaism. Number three, Kabbalah is not a set
Jim,
of
are you like
practices
Jewish? Is
focused
that
on
like
things
the
like wearing red springs or drinking holy water or numerology?
It's funny. I've gotten a few
This is
people
not
who are
Kabbalah.
like practicing Jews.
Number four,
who are very interested in talking about the topic.
Kabbalah is not centered on teachings to help us develop powers like clairvoyance or astral
Jews don't have
projection,
clairvoyance.
or
They don't have
being able
astral
to
projection.
fly or
Those are
anything
cool
like
though,
that.
man.
And finally, Kabbalah is not a philosophy or a mysticism that is disconnected from Judaism or from the observance of the Torah. Now, the word Kabbalah means that which is received or tradition. And it refers to a part or an area of knowledge that was revealed to us as part of God's revelation. That's what Kabbalah is. It's revealed and received teaching.
So like
and this
the book?
teaching was both revealed to us and then passed down from master to disciple. Now, just like the core ideas, the central core ideas of the legal parts of the oral Torah that was revealed at Mount Sinai were compressed into the Mishnah by Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Judah the Prince, around the year 200 of the Common Era, so too the esoteric, mystical teachings of the oral Torah were recorded and compiled around the same time by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai.
Okay, Jim, why am I watching this? I told you. This is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna sit here. I'm just gonna go like this because I'm taking it in, but like I can't comment on any of this. I don't know what I'm watching. I don't really have a comments. It's mostly just learning. I might as well be sitting in the pews, listening to this lovely dude in his sermon, or is it still a sermon? Yeah, that's a sermon, right? Certainly interesting, but I just have nothing to add. Yeah, I just have nothing to add. Like, if it is just, like, I can watch it, but I'm just gonna sit here and stare and drift, honestly, a little bit, trying to conceptualize all this stuff.
Due process to the former president. That is, using attorney-client privilege information, discussions with your lawyer and lawyer's notes with a grand jury.
Oh yeah, wait, what was his okay, there we go.
In Washington, they used a D.C. grand jury to bring Florida charges. Venue shopping in violation of Department of Justice rule.
Is he wait. Is he wait. In Washington, they use DC. Well, it depends on which case, because Florida. Wait, he's not being charged in anything in Florida. He's being charged like he's being charged for a federal crime that he committed in Florida, but that's not the same thing as Florida's not bringing charges against him. Florida isn't charging him with anything. There is no Florida DA who's bringing charges. The DAs in the states are, what's her name in Georgia, whose name I already forget, obviously. Alvin Bragg in New York, and I think that's a state charge. And then the one that is involved in Florida is the documents case. That's a federal case, not a Florida case.
Prosecutors and grand juries. Grand jury abuses by the so-called special counsel, including the denial of attorney-client privilege and due process to the former president. That is, using attorney-client privilege information, discussions with your lawyer and lawyer's notes with a grand jury, in which you don't have a lawyer there, in which you can't provide exculpatory information.
So let's be clear. He's talking about text messages between his lawyers in the... Because, okay, so what I'm noticing is he's trying to, like, collapse different cases in on each other to kind of make a holistic critique, even though each individual case is a little bit different. You don't have attorney-client privilege when you're breaking the law. So when you have attorneys for the... because if we're talking about, you know, privileged client-attorney communications... He's talking about the Georgia, the case in Georgia, which, again, at the end of the day, you don't get that kind of privilege when you're being investigated for breaking crimes. That's you don't. It's not like you can. It's not like you can discuss breaking crimes with your lawyer and nobody can say, "Hey, that's against the law." You're not use that as evidence, especially if they get a hold of it.
Information in which you cannot challenge anything. We have a prosecutor working for Jack Smith, who's accused of extorting a lawyer. Seems pretty serious to me. That is, he said he would help him get a judgeship in exchange for telling his client to turn state witness against former President Trump.
I noticed that there's no quotation marks in any of that, so you can take that with the grainest of salts.
Where is that now? It's being investigated in secret by the chief judge of that district.
So investigated in secret, meaning not really being investigated then. It's in secret, nobody can see it, but shh, they're investigating him for something.
Who's another Obama appointee? We've heard nothing.
Probably because there is nothing.
As I said, stripped of attorney-client privilege. And that was done in secret by another Obama judge.
What is this? Stripped. Let's see, what do we got? Fuck. Fuck it, if you want something interesting that you'll understand. Okay, here we go. You know, never let it be said that I'm not willing to click links.
Hey, I'll try.
That was good. That was good. That was solid. That was solid. No, we're not. No. That's fine. That was solid. I did understand that one. I understand SpongeBob. I'm not Jewish. What do you want from me? And I'm not religious or Jewish. All of it is gobbledygook to me. It all just turns into fucking rice pudding from it in my brain.
We have no idea why that occurred, and her order remains secret. We're talking about a former president, the leading Republican nominee for president, and all these secret trial activities going on. Former president was stripped of his executive privilege authority to protect his conversations with his former vice president and his staff while he was...
Well, it's too bad that they're allowed to interview, what's it called? Wait. Mike Pence took notes on their conversations. If Mike Pence is willing to disclose those notes about their talks, then that's not like executive privilege. That he's a witness. The fuck?
Was president of the United States. That's never been done before. No attorney-client privilege.
Do you know how privilege. Do you know how much how much record keeping they do in the White House? A lot.
Criminalized a document dispute using a search warrant, a SWAT team from the FBI, and seized records. Never done before in American history.
Maybe because they didn't. Fucking Mark, what are you talking about? We didn't have SWAT teams back in the day, so yeah, like, yeah, it maybe, crazy thought. If Trump hadn't, I don't know, held on to some of his records, some of the government documents that they told him that he needed to hand over, they wouldn't have had to raid his house. Like, the whole raid was such a, like, you brought that on yourself, and Trump brought that on himself. Like, you can complain, oh, how dare they? But, like, Mark Levin doesn't complain when they bring a SWAT team in to break up some, like, gang or something like that. Like, Mark Levin has never cared about the use of SWAT teams, except in this one specific scenario. This is the only time Mark Levin has ever cared about police force and police what's the word, over aggression or whatever.
An abuse of law, the most aggressive use of the law to do something which is really outrageous. A secret search warrant we just heard from another Obama judge.
How did you hear about it if it was secret? Or he means it used to be, it was signed off.
Allowing the government to seize all communications the former president had on Twitter, including private communications. Again.
Twitter's been around. Okay, wait a minute. Twitter's been around for how many presidencies? Like Obama, Trump, and Biden. It's been around for 3 presidencies, you fucking nerd. Jesus.
Trial by secrecy in a Democrat courtroom.
We'll finish this up and then I'll watch
judge,
it.
A Democrat prosecutor, a Democrat grand jury, Democrat future jury. And why was that done in secret?
Blame the refs. Blame the refs.
If he finds out that we're looking at his Twitter account, he may flee the country.
Well, it's almost like he was also the first president to be banned from, like, what, suspended from Twitter because of his communications on the platform. By the way, a platform that is not publicly owned, or one that's not privately, like the government doesn't own Twitter, and it didn't own Twitter back then. So the FBI and any other investigatory body who would like access to his communications, guess what? They can get a warrant for that. And, you know, if Twitter wanted to fight it, they absolutely could have. But, you know, they already had to suspend him. Certainly, they thought it was useful. You know, they had some kind of evidence, some kind of, you know, they did the due process thing. They got a warrant for it. What the fuck do you want, Mark? I thought the law was being broken. But no, they get a warrant for it, like everything else. Like, Mark Levin over here would be like, how dare they break into his house that they got a warrant to enter in, that he was refusing to allow them to enter into. How dare they do that? Can you believe they've done this? Like, it's a warrant. They got a warrant. Like, your Twitter account is not privileged. Nobody's Twitter account is privileged information. It's owned by a private corporation. You can hand it over whenever they want.
Leave Mar-a-Lago. He'll leave it all. He'll just flee the country.
Do it.
Now, how ridiculous is that? Now, what have they done? They use an 1871 Ku Klux Klan statute, a 2002 Enron statute,
yeah,
and financial obstruction statute, none of which have anything at all to do with January 6th.
Okay, if you say so. Also, none of this is also January 6th. Not all of these are January 6th. The financial obstruction statute is for the isn't for January 6th. That's for the election crimes. The KKK statute, I don't remember which one that is for. He has 4 indictments. These are all for different cases. They're not throwing these all at him for one case.
Ku Klux Klan statute, a 2002 Enron statute, and financial obstruction statute, none of which have anything at all to do with January 6th.
Okay. She's sleeping.
They used the 1917 Espionage Act,
whoa,
which was passed
we've
by
never
Woodrow
used
Wilson to imprison his political opponents. Sound familiar?
Whoa, we've never used the Espionage Act ever.
Familiar? And it was applied against Eugene Debs, who was running for president on the Socialist Party, and he ran while he was in prison. I guess that's what the Biden administration thinks ought to happen now.
Wait, whoa! I thought Biden was Marxist. What is this? What is this? I thought Brandon's supposed to be a Marxist. He's cool with the socialists. Is Trump the real socialist? Crazy.
Piling charges, as we say. That is, making multiple criminal charges from a single event. Just piling them on. Now, why do they do that? Because they just...
Mark Levin, how dare you charge somebody with multiple things for one crime? Jesus Christ. Oh, thanks for the follow. I appreciate that. Like, what?
Just want one conviction. And they want a jury to sit there and say, look, we got 40 charges here in the document case.
Goddamn right.
All right, let's find guilty on 1 or 2 of them, and we'll clear them of the rest. That's what's going on. Every dirty trick.
Yep, that is called that's called a skill issue. That's called the shotgun approach. You loaded up your 12 gauge. You just kind of throw out as many eligible charges as you can. We'll get them on something. We'll get them on any number of things.
Imaginable. There's been relentless leaking of investigative, sensitive, and even concealed information to the media. In particular, Maggie Haberman at the New York Times, to the Washington Post, and to CNN. And I've demonstrated here, I have examples of
40 leaks in 6 months. Does that actually... I want everyone to understand. We get leaks like this constantly. This isn't new. They make it sound like he's trying to make it sound like, oh my God, 40 leaks. Oh my God, in 6 months. That's like nothing. That's really like nothing. Like the amount of leakage that we have in government, especially in investigatory bodies, is like surpasses this by quite a large stretch. Like it's not that impressive.
Over 40 leaks from this prosecutor in the Department of Justice in the past 6 months in violation of federal law to destroy the objectivity of any jury pool. And as for the New York Times, I want you to remember something. Their reporter in Moscow was a Stalin mouthpiece. During the Holocaust, their bureau chief in...
I love how this guy wants to do this whole thing about how he's like defending Eugene Debs and socialists and then rolls right back into McCarthyism.
Berlin was a Hitler mouthpiece while they covered up the Holocaust. I want to remind you, the New York Times helped install Fidel Castro, who had 28
McCarthyism.
to overthrow the government in Cuba, which was a corrupt government, but still, it wasn't a communist regime. And now the New York Times is trying to overthrow this government in Atlanta.
The New York Times. Yeah, the real destruction of American democracy will come at the hands of the New York Times. Yeah, okay.
Outrageous. Leaked district attorney's grand jury charges before the grand jury even...
this one for Atlanta. God. They literally just posted the charges early before they were verified and then took it down immediately after. You fucking chud. Jesus Christ. Dude, my guy, you need to take your medicine. Somebody get this man his fucking heartburn medicine.
To vote on the charges. Indicted 19 individuals, including the former president, for exercising their free speech rights, organizing a challenge to an ongoing political campaign for president, seeking dual
that is what they said they did.
Close election, which, by the way, is done often, providing legal advice.
No, they weren't looking for dual electors. They were looking for alternative electors that would subvert the will of the voters. Oh, man, the language. You can tell he, like, studies law. Because like saying dual electors is technically correct, but it mischaracterizes the goal and intent of the plan that the Trump team was executing during the post-election process.
Lobbying state officials and then accusing them all, because of all these so-called phony charges, of mob action. That is RICO, a mob law.
Well, it's used to
obstruct and overturn the election.
Well, it's not because they're the mob or something. It's just a way that you kind of package a criminal organization together. RICO laws are just the all it really is the yarn that you wrap around the package. That's all the RICO laws are. It's just bundling everybody together.
In other words, they were charged for routine political activity. The DA, who represents only Fulton County, Georgia, county prosecutor, nevertheless claims to use evidence involving 6 other states outside of Georgia, uses allegations made by the Pelosi January 6th committee, which have since...
Well, that was an investigatory body done by, like, the House of Representatives. So, yeah, they're allowed to use evidence, especially when it involves this specific case. And also, if there's exculpatory evidence, I think that's the word for it, that this kind of attempt was made in another state, I also think that's rather relevant to the case. Like, yeah?
Destroyed God knows how much material that they collected on that committee in order to prevent the former president from using any exculpatory information that they may have come across.
Hey, that's my word. Also, they destroyed all of the evidence. They broadcasted all of the evidence. They don't need to keep it. They don't need to keep the shitty scribbled note. They already took a photo scan of it, and it's in government records. It's in public records already.
This is a federal matter, not a state matter. She's obviously coordinating with the Department of Justice and the special counsel.
Well, no. The election interference is a state matter. That's different. You're buddy boy. You're mixing a lot of this up. There are 4 separate cases going on here. Chicago school press.
Jack Smith, we know this. She was directly asked if she was, and she said, "I'm not discussing my investigation."
Whoa. Mark Levin is not a lib. Why would you? That's offensive. Mark Levin is going to haunt you until your dying day, Sensible Center. How dare you call him a lib?
That's a yes. And she's not discussing her investigation, which means she's been coordinating with Jack Smith.
Also, have you
This is not only
seen
interference in a federal election, it's a
Javier
bald-faced attempt to
Milei?
empower
I've never seen somebody more triggered.
thousands of local and state prosecutors.
I'm pretty sure the only thing he gets more triggered about is a pair of scissors.
Decapitate the federal government. If there's a Republican candidate, if there's a Republican president.
Wait, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention, Mark. Uh-huh. Hit me with that one more
This is
time.
not only interference in a federal election, it's a bald-faced attempt to empower thousands and thousands
of
local
Americans
and state prosecutors to decapitate the federal government.
What I find really funny is it's always this freak out about do you notice there aren't investigations for literally any other presidential candidate? Do you notice that? Do you notice that none of the other Republicans have outstanding indictments or investigations about them? It's shockingly just the guy who broke laws. It's crazy.
If there's a Republican candidate, there's a
mop
Republican president.
What? Yes.
Just to decapitate it. More on that later. Now,
God
New
damn,
York,
man,
what do we have?
that shit is
Not forgetting
shining.
here, we have a DA.
Who's black?
A Soros DA, a Democrat DA. He breathes life into a case that was rejected ultimately by the prior DA, another Democrat. What is that about? Non-disclosure agreements.
Yeah.
Non-disclosure agreements.
They're the law. Mark, you can't claim to care about the law, and then the minute a law's broken by your guy, then do non-disclosure agreements. Fuck off, dude.
It's a completely phony case. There's over 30 charges of federal crimes against the President of the United States.
Don't break crimes.
He takes misdemeanors, and they weren't even misdemeanors, but he takes them, turns them into felonies.
Magically.
Preposterous allegations.
Magically turns them into felonies.
That's the first set of indictments. Every one of these prosecutors is conflicted. Alvin Bragg, a Soros prosecutor, a radical Democrat in Manhattan.
A radical Democrat? Honestly, how left do you think Alvin Bragg is? He's a fucking district attorney.
And he ran on charging Donald Trump. Fannie Willis, a radical, elected Democrat who's fundraising
Another
off the
black
charges
person
against Donald Trump for a next election. Jack Smith, a former
Thank
top
God.
official in the Eric Holder Department of Justice. Worked
God,
closely
these are
with him, with former FBI Director James.
My dude looks like he belongs in a document. This picture of Jack Smith, and probably Jack Smith in general, he looks like he should be a person of interest photo in an X-Files episode as they're looking for a possible alien or whatever.
James Comey,
He's got a
and his
weird
general
face.
counsel Andrew Weissman, who's all over MSNBC spewing his stupidity.
Because nobody is on Fox News doing the opposite for Trump. Got
Of
it.
course, Smith's wife is a Democrat activist, an Obama sycophant, with a long record of prosecutorial
Says the
abuses of
Reagan
process,
sycophant.
that is Jack Smith. Pressuring and threatening witnesses,
Top official of
bankrupting
Eric.
criminal targets, leaking campaigns with friendly reporters like Haberman over
Wait, Jack Smith, an investigator for the federal government, worked closely with the FBI?
there. The
Shocking.
New York Times, other news outlets, the Washington
But
Post,
it's a Democrat
CNN,
activist.
and so forth. Now,
let's all keep in mind, all of this is do you remember what I said about value neutral terms? Do you remember what I said? That that you can tell propaganda by the way that you are supposed to read into value neutral terms, such as, and like, as you're reading this, like former FBI director. All right. Like Democrat activist. That's pretty value neutral. That could be good. It could be bad. Obama sycophant. That one's pretty, that's pretty negative. But like, what's it called? And like, but you can kind of always tell somebody is doing like the propaganda game when like you're meant to make all of the valuations on a lot of like descriptive terms. Like these are the things, like as somebody is reading this, if I'm my dad, I'm reading this maybe a bit slowly, and I get to Andrew Weissman, his wife, a Democratic activist, and Obama sycophant with a long record of prosecutorial abuses of process. And it's the same thing that like you see Tim Pool do this a lot of times in his videos a lot, where like he'll be talking normally and then like he'll shift into this like really weird like demonic Alex Jones voice. Keep an eye out for it, because it's very obvious that they're not trying to give you information. They're trying to tell you how to feel about something.
Let's step back. This DA in Atlanta, as well as Jack Smith, what are they doing? What have they done? Alan Dershowitz wrote an important piece for the Daily Mail.
Who the fuck cares about Dershowitz?
During the course of our challenges, this is Bush Gore, he was representing the people of Palm Beach County in that litigation.
Oh, the
tactics similar to those employed in 2020 were attempted. Lawyers wrote legal memoranda outlining possible courses of conduct, including...
Wait, so what you're telling me is that they're finally going to prosecute somebody for trying to steal an election, even though, 20 years prior, they just decided to let it go? Like, let's be really clear here. 2020 was a successful stealing of an election. Al Gore won the state of Florida, but the Supreme Court handed it to George W. Bush. Let's be really, really clear about that. And the complaint that they're making now, 20 years later, the Republican Party, the complaint they are making now is that why won't they rig it for us now? What the fuck? What the hell is this? You rig it for us. You break the rules for us.
Posing a slate of alternate electors who would deliver our preferred election results to Congress. This is normal. In 2000, Florida state officials were lobbied to secure recounts in selected counties, in which we thought the tally would favor us. We were trying to find at least 600 votes that would change the result. The new indictment features Trump's phone call with Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger.
Yeah.
Which was captured.
We already listened to this. We already know how bad it is. It's quite bad.
In an audio recording. In the conversation, Trump asks him to find 12,000 votes. In my mind, says Dershowitz, this call is among the most exculpatory pieces of evidence. Trump is entitled as a candidate to ask a Georgia state official to locate votes that he believes were not counted. Trump was told.
Nope, that's not what he said. The quote was, I just need 11,870 votes. That's what he said. It was not a random number. It was a very specific number which would give him a win in the state. That is what he was looking for.
That in some of these Republican counties, that the votes aren't in yet, or they can't, actually find the ballots and the votes. And he says, well, can't you find whatever it is, 11 or 12,000 votes? That's it.
It's 11,870. I don't know why Mark Levin doesn't know this number, and I do. Probably because he's old and stupid.
In 2000, attempts were made to influence various Florida officials to recount the votes. Now, the former president's request that Georgia's Speaker of the House reconsider the count is being considered as soliciting a public official to violate his oath. Do you understand the extent to which the criminal activity is the criminal activity of the Biden administration?
Also, keep in mind, just because they didn't enforce the law before doesn't mean they shouldn't do it now. They should have done it then. They should do it now.
Department of Justice, Merrick Garland, and Jack Smith, they are the criminals.
Merrick Garland's been a little badge.
Let's look at what Hillary Clinton did. Oh, I know the media hate to do this.
All he has is Clinton. That's it. That's all it is. I swear, I don't, again, I only know this guy from listening in the mornings on the way to school. But goddamn, I've never seen somebody like especially in the 90s and everything, you couldn't find a Republican. You could not throw a fucking stone without knocking out like 10 Republicans who have who just fucking seethe at the word Hillary Clinton.
Because the media are frauds.
Obsessed, man.
On freedom of the press. An entire book.
An entire holds up own book. You see this book here? This is the book that you need to be reading. This book right here. This is the greatest political book that's ever been written. You see this right here? You see this book by this amazingly beautiful, not bald at all, I swear to God, writer right here, Mark Levin. This right here is the book. You need this book right here. It'll cost you about $12.99 on Amazon, $7.99 if you have Prime. Right here, this is the book you want. Fucking shill over here.
On what the media have done to this country. This is not a free press. This is a Pravda.
Do you want to know why they're so good at writing so many of these books too?
Press. This is
because fiction's a little bit easier than nonfiction.
They will never have an legal analyst on there discussing it. The people who watch these programs, even though they have very, very small audiences, the big part of their audience, members of Congress, people in the White House.
My favorite thing is they're like, yeah, CNN will never have a legal analyst.
Other press and influencers.
I won't have a legal analyst. I'm too small.
Their audience.
I am the legal analyst. What am I saying?
Judges are flesh and blood. They're human beings too.
Ooh, better watch it.
Some of them are better than others. Some of them are radical activist Democrats. Some of them are brilliant and objective. Unfortunately,
this dude, man, it's literally like, it's like some of them are radical active Democrats and others are perfectly okay people who save a dog every single day and on their way into work usually adopt at least one child out of poverty and pay for their education for the rest of their lives. You know, some of them are radical Democrats, some of them are God's gift to humanity. Like, living in a world of propaganda has got to be interesting. Actually, it's got to be a bit boring because it feels like everything's either like red or black and white to these people. Like, really, like it's got to be. You know, I'm surprised that he's not already having like a hernia just having the word Hillary next to him for the tropical storm. But he's making it through it. He's making it through it.
Unfortunately, Trump is getting most of the former. Entire book on that too.
Oh no!
So what did Hillary Clinton do? She walks the
country. He's wrote a book on every
She's
topic.
Gaggling all over the place. She's getting into friendly media. She's laughing about all these indictments. Hillary Clinton should be in prison for her entire life. Over 4,500 criminal statutes in the U.S. Code that exist today.
You know what's funny? All right. Do you want to hear the big one? You want to hear the big one? You want to hear the thing that differentiates me from somebody like Mark Levin? Would you like to know? If Hillary Clinton broke the law, she should be prosecuted to the letter of the law. And if Donald Trump did the same, should also be held to the letter of the law. You see, the difference between me and Mark Levin is Mark Levin will come on here and show you what theoretical crimes of Democrats or just outright crimes of Democrats. We'll say that. And he'll say that's an excuse why a Republican, why a conservative should not be charged with whatever they're charged for. You see, I am a leftist. I believe in law. Unlike this piece of shit. I believe in the law. Therefore, when Democrats do it, lock their ass up. When Republicans do it, lock their ass up. That's how I feel. But Mark Levin's different. He's different. He's different in a different kind of way. He's the kind of guy that goes, look, Democrats breaking the law. Why can't we? We all want to break the law, don't we? We all, Trump. Why are we charging Trump? We didn't charge Hillary. Come on, the game is we don't charge each other. That's how this works. The powerful don't hold each other to account. That's the system. And that's the relationship to the law that Mark Levin is actually advocating here.
One mostly used. The ones are conspiracy, false statements, money laundering, obstruction, perjury, mail fraud, wire fraud, bank fraud, tax evasion. Hillary Clinton. To convict Clinton, it must be shown that she acknowledged that classified emails were contained. Hillary Clinton.
Wait. I want to see. Let's see. There are over 4,500 criminal statutes in the United States Code, according to 2008 study by retired Louisiana. Okay. Criminal statutes in the code, according to a study.
over 4,500 criminal statutes in the U.S. Code that exist today.
Right.
The one mostly used, the ones are...
However, the U.S. Attorney and the Department of Justice readily charge most white-collar, nonviolent offenses from a select pool of federal statutes, with the most prominent being conspiracy... Okay. So we have a two-tiered justice system, one that favors white-collar crime? Yeah, no shit.
Conspiracy, false statements, money laundering, obstruction, perjury, mail fraud, wire fraud, bank fraud.
Why produce legislation that might negatively affect their donors' investments? That is incredibly correct. What gain Arena? What you are correct. Incredibly correct. Mass gainer N8. All right, thank you. You are correct. That is precisely why we don't get laws and legislation to regulate big businesses, and also why politicians don't hold each other to account under the law. Because why would they? They're all in the same game. They all understand, hey, look. We'll take it easy on you. You break the law. You take it on me. We break the law. Republicans loved running on Hillary Clinton. But did you notice when it was time to charge her with something, they spent 1,000,000 years on Benghazi and got nothing for it? Because they all understood it was show. The Benghazi trials, all of it, show. You win some, you win some seats in the House. You win some seats in the Senate. But that's all it ever was. They never went after the real stuff, and they never will, because that would open the door for all of them to be investigated for the actual crimes that they're all participating in. I'm a libertarian, but the problem with the Libertarian Party is that the major candidates are actually more closer to classically liberal than libertarian. I don't know the difference, but I hope one day I'm willing to shift you from libertarian to my end of the spectrum. Although technically, if we want to be real about it, libertarian really isn't supposed to be, well, historically, from my understanding, isn't really right-wing. It's just these days you get a lot of right-wing libertarians who are, there are people, I know my stepbrother identifies as a libertarian socialist. I don't know if I'd probably align closer with them, but also I'm not really, I try not to, ANCAPs right now. Dave Smith type ANCAPs. Oh God. If you want ANCAPs, go take a look at Kansas.
Tax evasion. Hillary Clinton. To convict Clinton, it must be shown that she acknowledged that classified emails were contained on her private server.
Oh, yeah. How much longer we got on this?
And they said the most recent tally by the State Department of their review of 30,000 Clinton emails indicates at least 671 emails sent or received by Clinton contained classified information.
Mm-hmm.
This fact stands in stark contrast to the statement she gave to reporters in July of that year, when she said, "I'm confident that I've never sent nor received any information that was classified."
And yeah, there's no critique here.
Information safe. 18 USC 793. They're using that against Trump.
According what law did Hillary Clinton actually? But yeah, according to an October 16th Fox News report, the FBI is also looking to see if Clinton committed gross negligence under the which didn't they just settle that? I don't remember, but I remember she got like a slap on the wrist.
Doesn't necessarily have to be marked as classified to violate the statute. The article cited an intelligence community source who spoke on the condition of anonymity. The intelligence source said the subsection requires the lawful possession of national defense information by a security clearance holder.
I'm curious why you think it's more efficient.
Gross negligence, such as the use of an unsecure computer network, permits the material to be removed or abstracted from its proper secure location.
Actually, Mass Gainer, I guess my question, I don't have too much time, but I am curious. When we talk about smaller government, what are you thinking? Because a lot of people say they prefer smaller government, but when they describe their vision of government and its role in all of our lives, it's noticeably big in certain areas and small in others. And, where you see those disparities, I think, are interesting. And I think, reveal your, I suppose, actual political leanings and biases, I suppose.
She even hired an IT person on her own dime who works for the Department of State to handle the server. That's how much she didn't want anyone to know about the server. And by the way, that's a crime too. You're not allowed to subsidize or receive private monies for doing what is a government job, and that's sort of what he was doing for her at her request.
Local,
but nobody
local government have more power and control where their taxes go. Many small towns get taxed, and they're never. When you say small towns get, do you mean like the people who live in, like, if I live in small town Ohio, whatever, you know, I pay like my local taxes, but then I pay my federal taxes. All the same, federal money goes to the larger cities. That is incredibly true. I certainly think the distribution of our taxes can be fixed. But you also have to keep in mind that the reason why a lot of state and federal money goes to cities is mainly because that's where most of the people are. Most people, a large proportion of the population, lives in cities now, unfortunately. Not that I don't know if I want to say unfortunately. Cities are cities. Some are good, some are bad. But keep in mind also, some of the biggest beneficiaries of federal government dollars are also rather rural red states. They also take in a lot of federal money and a lot of federal taxes. So a lot of money is also coming out of cities in terms of taxes as well. So keep that in mind.
Talks about that. She destroyed.
We're also going to finish this up, and then I got to run. But
cell phones. Nobody was dragged in front of a grand jury. There was no.
Do you have anything else to say, Mark? Or are you done? Are you done with the bitching about Hillary Clinton?
She didn't have.
We're not done yet, are we?
5.5
thanks,
years
Maskin. I appreciate it.
Hunter Biden. During the course of the 5.5 years.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Are we doing Biden? Are we doing Biden? All right. I'm calling it. The Hunter Biden stuff is stupid. And let me be clear. There's going to be probably sensible senator who's going to come in here and be like, oh, leftist running from the Hunter Biden story. No, I've just already covered it a million times. There's no evidence for any of it. All of it is speculation. You can go ahead and whine about it. I'm not. Why does that play twice? I don't understand. I need to fix that. I don't know why OBS plays that twice. But no, you can go watch them back and watch other older streams of mine, or I'm sure I've put a segment together. Actually, no, I know there's a segment on YouTube. You can watch that if you want all the Hunter Biden stuff. I'm not litigating that for the billionth time for this old fuck. Anyway, okay, let me, like I said, I do have to run. Mass Gainer, I appreciate you hitting the follow button. It really helps out. I'll be back tomorrow, 9 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Mountain Time. I think that's pretty much it. I don't really know the topics, but Biden is a criminal, Trump is a criminal. The only guy I've respected in politics is Ron Paul. Ron Paul! Okay, maybe we need to go over some Ron Paul stuff. Okay. Mass Gainer. All right. No, it's not happening, Jim. It's not happening. You're not getting me one more time. You keep trying. You're not getting me one more time. Mass Gainer. One question. I need to know. I need to know this guy. I need to see where you're at here. Bernard Sanders. How do you feel about my man's Bernard? Are you yay? Are you nay? Are you unsure? Because if there's one guy I'm willing to put my paycheck up against, who is rather uncorrupt, uniquely in our government, it's Bernie Sanders. But anyway, isn't corrupt. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Ooh, buddy. Oh, man. We got. We're gonna have fun. You and I are gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun. Okay. So, like I said, tomorrow, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 Mountain Time. It's just 7 o'clock is when I actually get on, but everyone tells me use Eastern Time because that's when everybody else is on. It's whatever. Point is, I'll see you all tomorrow. I don't know what the topics. We're not gonna watch Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's just too. Jim was right. Too low of hanging fruit. That one's on me. I wanted to take it easy. But either way, you all have a lovely night. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye. Where's the thing? I always never cue this up before. Okay, bye. No, hit the button.